Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy on Discord.
And this is Aaron. I go by Treffenwood.
On Discord.
Everywhere. You should just
Not
call me
everywhere.
Treffenwood.
I thought you were against the having nicknames in real life.
Yeah.
Don't be a hypocrite, Aaron.
Well, I want to be.
All right.
Don't be a
Well,
hypocrite.
for quick
No,
announcements.
I will.
Quick announcements. Parker, you're down to 729 episodes. At this rate, you'll be at 1,000 before you're done. That'll be great.
Mhm.
So was it our most recent bet was the next Captain America won't be an Avenger? You bet 50 episodes on that?
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Conservative bet.
Yep. What could go wrong?
You know what? I noticed something about my bets the other day. Even
Mhm.
though we're betting with Monopoly money functionally, I care intrinsically
Yeah.
so much about having all these demerits. I refuse to do big bets. Because the thought of having so many more makes me nervous. Like when you ask me how many do you want to bet, I go, "Oh, I can't bet that many." Because what
It's
if I
like,
lose?
I don't want to go
Yeah.
like I can't dig out of this hole if I bet too many.
Right, it really matters to me. Like
Yeah.
much more than real money, I think.
If you hit 1,000, you have to go on Squid Game.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be the
Yeah.
thing. Someone's going to
That's the
knock on
rule.
your door, and there's only one way to get
I
rid
think.
of them.
How about this? If Parker gets to 1,000, we give out his email address.
I don't think. Wait, do you have my email address?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I can just tell you what it is. It starts with a T.
Okay. Thanks. That's enough.
Every time he gets a demerit now, we'll just give out another letter of his email address.
That's not the way it works.
Oh, suddenly there is some real value here, isn't there?
Yeah. But yeah, when he gets to 1,000, we'll give out his email address. When we get to 2,000, we'll give out his phone number.
Why
We
are we
get to-
talking about
When we
upping
get
the
to
stakes?
3,000,
I just
we'll
discussed
give
how
out
much
his
I care about the
address.
fact that they exist at all. This would be an interesting conversation if I just said how much I don't care, but I really do. And you're not okay.
Well, no, it's just going to be funny because even though you care, you can't stop it. Like this train has started. Like it's never going to stop. It's only going to keep going up.
20,000.
I just want to know at what
full
level we get
access
to
your
create a
cell phone.
Tinder account for him.
No, that's the best part. Is like I'm going to start encouraging fans like to fuck with him. Like start signing him up for newsletters and stuff.
I think
'Cause, like he'll start getting like imagine we give out your phone number on air and you start getting like 400 spam calls a day. Like it'd be so great.
yeah,
You
so
just have
great.
to like change your phone number.
I'm so happy.
So happy.
Okay. That's the only news or announcement I had today. So Parker, what's next?
News.
News. Let's do it.
Hey,
All right. First bit of news is Pyro has a card, and before we discuss his card, I just wanted to note it was really hard to tell on my phone. That's where I read his card first. That if you look very closely at the Pyro art, drowned out by the yellow comic booky effect behind him, he is making a little flame Magneto helmet. Did you see this? When you look really
I
close,
can't. I'm currently trying to load the Pyro cards. Oh, there they go. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Isn't that interesting? And I was so mad that it just so happens they drowned that out. If they just, I don't know if they just flip the image or something to put the Magneto helmet on the blue, but you literally won't be
Yeah,
able to
they
see
could.
it.
I mean, he's
stare
doing
at
it with his left hand too. Like I think he's
Yeah.
right-handed. You
Yeah.
could have just done it on the other side.
Yeah, it just.
Like you said, mirrored it basically.
Yeah. At any rate, so Pyro is a 3-cost character. He has 5 health on both sides. He has identical stats with 3 physical, 4 energy, and 3 mystic. He has also identical attacks and powers on both sides. His first attack is an energy called Fire Blast, range 4, 5 dice, gains 1, and a wild incinerate. He has a Flame Jet, which is a beam 3, 4 dice. Each attack does build him 1 with a wild incinerate. He also has an energy attack Spender that is range 2, 7 dice for 3 power. It automatically causes incinerate, and before damage is dealt, other characters within 2 suffer 1. Other enemy characters. So it is smart targeter.
It's just auto explosion.
I feel like we probably just need to talk about his powers because he's kind of a full kit character.
do it.
Yeah.
Do
So
it.
he has a cool power called Firewall for 2 cost. Choose an enemy character within 3 of him. They immediately gain Root and Slow. They can only be used once. Stoke the Flames, which is 3 cost. During the next attack action, maybe this character add 2 dice to its attack rolls. Specifically, little note Flame Jet, which is a beam, would get an extra 2 to all the beams. So if you spend 3, Flame Jet becomes 6 dice on every attack. And then finally, passive called Fire Manipulation. When this character targets an enemy character with an attack, after the attack is resolved, the character has. If the character has Incinerate, this character may choose another enemy character within 2, and that character gains Incinerate. So basically, he splashes Incinerate as long as he's targeting characters that already are incinerated.
Is it when this character targets an enemy character with an attack? If the attack after the attack is resolved, if the target character has. So he doesn't have to attack someone that has Incinerate. He just has to give them Incinerate.
Sorry, after the attack is resolved, if Incinerate happened, then he can splash it. Yeah.
Well, anytime, the attack's over. They could have had it at the start.
Yes.
Yeah. I think this guy's really cool. He looks kind of boring at first, but I think people will come to really like the unique things he does. First of all, Fire Manipulation is very fluffy because he controls fire. He isn't really a fire like Inferno man. He just controls fire. So the fact that he can spread it to other people nearby is very thematic because he's like forcing the fire to spread in weird ways. And I think Firewall's really interesting. That there's not a lot of people that can put out Root whenever they want.
Notably, Root and Slow is an awesome combo because a lot of effects in the game that help with Slow, like teleportation effects, then get rooted, so now you can't spend power easily to make it happen. So I think Root and Slow is a really cool crippling combination together for 2 power. That's awesome, I think. In terms of if you're going to give a character 2 effects, I think those 2 effects are 2 that a character would go, oh crap, now how am I moving?
I'm surprised they'd call this ability Ring of Fire.
Yeah, seeing as it's called, targets 1 character, but
yeah.
I like him. He's a 3-pointer that has 4 energy defense, so the pay to flips, at least 2 of them. I was
waiting for somebody to say that. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
There's now 4 3-pointers that have 3 energy defense, or 4 energy defense, which is really cool. It's Storm, Pyro, Miss Marvel, and Mordo, and Pyro, right? Is that 5?
And Human Torch.
4? Oh, I didn't count him. So there's 6 3-pointers that have 4 energy now. That's a lot.
It always feels good when you have that.
So it used to be that energy was the best attack in the game. I think that's probably flipped. I don't know if it's flipped or if it is evened out. I'd be interested to look at the average defenses now, but I think a lot of recent characters, Sentinels, Sentinels, Torch, and Pyro all have higher energy defense than Physical and Mystic. So
there is a lot of people with 4 physical and 3s everywhere else, or less than 4s everywhere else. But yeah, there's been a huge push for more energy defense in the meta.
I said there's been a lot of releases, but I don't know. Like a lot of like cornerstone pieces in the game still have 4 physical.
Yeah,
I think I don't know how long it'll take for you to feel that when you're playing an average tournament game, but yes, there are more.
My first thought when I saw this guy was finally a reason to take the initiative. Can you follow me, Parker? Can you follow me?
Yeah, okay. You could Human Torch and then incinerate everything, and then give you
a new age.
New age.
And then you beam, and they're 8 dice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it feels fun.
That's 80% just a meme, but
what's
in reality,
What's New Age do?
You get 2 extra dice if you're targeting a model with an energy attack from a shield member with Incinerate.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of conditions.
Oh yeah, the Human Torch card. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that stops you from playing Pyro and Human Torch. In fact, it's kind of thematic.
Yeah.
You also throw in Hood, which is fun.
But really,
you can actually do like the Bernie voice.
Why Hood?
He's got fire on him.
Oh.
It's like Mystic Fire, but he still has fire.
Because he doesn't have an energy attack, but I see your point.
Really, he's just he's a solid 3. He's absolutely a glass cannon with 5 health on both sides. No defensive tech whatsoever. That can do some really cool things. And probably fills a niche in Brotherhood, which has a great 2 and some great 5s and 6s, but not a lot of great 3s to go around. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's broken. I think he's solid. I like him.
I think he's like super typical Brotherhood model, just above average, not like insanely, overtuned, just really solid.
Yeah.
And that is like Brotherhood's thing. It was like no movement shenanigans, no like I'm gonna teleport 5 times and kill all your models, no like I have cover and I'm immune to throws, like none of that where you feel like you're totally overtuned. It's just he will stand there, he will throw dice at things, he will take energy damage better. He's just, he's worth 3.25, right? So
I disagree. Hard disagree. I think he's just okay. I think he fits a 3-point model for Brotherhood, and they are missing that. But I think he dies really fast and easy.
mhm.
Where other Brotherhood models are going to stand up a little bit better than he will.
Yeah, he's probably the squishiest Brotherhood character. But that being said, he is a range 4 attacker.
I think the root and the slow is the bitch. I think that's what's
Mhm.
really going to make you kill him fast, is because it's like, okay, that's it. That's enough. You're not doing that to me anymore. Like, that's over. Your little game is gone.
Anytime I see a 2-cost superpower, I'm like, can I abuse this model with Steve? The answer here is possibly. I mean, nothing in his kit is bad, and under Steve, he can essentially pull off Firewall turn 1. That's
Yeah.
not nothing. I don't
Not
think it's.
essentially, like easily, yeah.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean,
you
you're gonna
can
have to
put
put him
it-
within range 3, which means he's probably dying turn 2.
Maybe.
I don't think he's an auto include in Steve rosters. I don't know that that's enough, but yeah.
I think it might be kind of fun to play him as kind of a hit and run model. So you move him up to like a flank point, start shooting somebody at range 4. They move up to attack you. Probably don't one shot you unless they're a premium model. Then you just firewall them and double move away. And then there's like, God damn it! Like, and then you just keep doing it, like firewall and move away, shoot them, firewall, move away, shoot them, and just keep like kiting them around the board.
Well, sure.
It's like, what are you gonna do? Shake slow and then move? Like I don't care.
I mean, a potentially really good tech piece against Malekith, right? Like incinerate, root, and slow. Yeah, those are 3 things Malekith does not like to have on him. Or Hulk.
And auto damage. Like, let's say he's got a bodyguard. It doesn't matter. I'm still incinerating you.
Yep.
I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, he's definitely not like a world beater or anything, but he's solid. I think Human Torch probably has more upside potential, but I think Pyro has a higher floor. Because I think worst case scenario, he's going to root somebody on an important turn. Anyway, what is next?
Our next bit of news is we have a new Challenger update. It doesn't rock a ton of socks, but it does make some new cards playable. There is a new X-flavored Team Tactics card symbol added to the standard timeline. When you blow it up and look at it really closely, you can tell it's not exactly X-Men. It more closely resembles like the House of X symbol, which is the super modern Jonathan Hickman run of X-Men, also called the Krakoan X-Men era. And so the Sentinel cards, all the Team Tactics cards on the Sentinels are that symbol. So they are technically legal now, whereas before they were technically not. But
So, a couple things about this. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation go into why they chose a symbol that's not really used in any of the normal stuff other than the brand new comic series. So that might imply that they're trying to move in that direction with their development, which would be cool. I think a lot of people really like the new X-Men arc. But for the game, what I think, like especially in the immediate future, what I was thinking was the fact that they did not update the crisis card section. We can take a little bit of information from that because they only updated the tactics card section, not the crisis card section. So by not updating it, they're either saying they have no intention of printing any cards with this symbol on it, or they're going to do something else with crisis cards.
It's option 2. It's option 2.
I would be fine with option 2.
what is option 2?
Well, the fact that they didn't update it could mean that they're about to overhaul crisis cards in general. Like maybe. So Aaron's been pushing the speculation that there's going to be a crisis card upgrade pack coming out in November that they've been keeping under wraps. That's basically just going to be a pack you buy that's got all the crisis cards in it, and some of them might be changing.
Is this your version of Aaron's story? Or is this actually Aaron's story?
Aaron, tell your story.
So I would postulate that it will be print to play, but otherwise everything Brandon said is right. I would
Oh, you
bet.
think it's just gonna be a digital download that you print out?
I think here's what I actually think. I would actually put money on this that there will be in November a less than 5 character change
Release.
and
Okay.
an update to Crisis cards, likely print to play.
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
Pause for a second. Aaron bet. How many episodes would you like to bet?
I will bet 50 episodes at 10-1 odds.
10-1 which way? Like you're betting 50 to lose 500?
No. Either I get 50 or you get 500.
Why?
Because that is a very specific ass bet.
Well, I was going to do 2 separate ones. So there was going to be the soft dynamic update with like adjusting live bot cards in the game, and then do a separate one just for the mission change. But if you want to do, I'm not going to do a 10-1 bet because you wouldn't speculate.
Well, I said I would bet money. I didn't say I'd bet even odds.
Okay. All right. So we've got. So just be specific about the tax card. What are you thinking for the tactics card? Do you think it's just going to be they're going to make the current mission cards print to demand?
I think
And
there
so
will be a change. I think there will be a change to the crisis cards that are legally playable, probably new ones, and that the method for getting crisis cards into the game will now take a regular quasi-annual form, whether it's every 6 months or every year.
Like a seasonal update to missions.
Just like they did with the card pack.
So,
now,
like, for example, what are you saying? Like, let's say Legacy Virus, for example. When you say stuff might be changing, you mean they're gonna like adjust Legacy Virus, or they're just gonna make it not usable?
Don't know.
Okay.
I just don't think that the crisis card selections we have now will be the same at the end of November.
Okay.
I think we will have more. I don't know if they're going to completely rotate out, or if they're going to rotate out some of them, or if they're just going to change some of them.
It would just surprise me if they went to a print to demand and included new stuff. If they were like, hey, we've errated these 5 missions to make them more in line with the other missions. Like, let's say they made all the pay to flips like sword base, where if they're uncontested, you get them automatically. And they just sweeping changed that, hey, you can print these at home to get the current wording. I could totally see that happening. But if you're like, hey, we have like Demons Uptown now, and it's just a whole new mission that's never existed before, and they're like print to demand, like I don't see that happening. That would blow me away. I'm not saying it's impossible, it's just I don't see it happening.
I also think that they will nerf Black Cat and Voodoo and maybe Malekith, and that's it. I think they're going to be very light with any potential character changes.
All they need to do to Malekith, in my opinion, is get rid of the thing where you can't mod your dice against him.
That would definitely help.
I think that's really the only problem, is that nothing with teeth can get a hold of him. So at best case scenario, you're coin flipping when you go into him. And he's not coin flipping into you. He's much more likely to kill you than you are kill him. That's the problem.
Making Ferocity cost 3 would also go a long way towards, especially the turn 1 super jank.
Mm-hmm.
That really sets up everything else that follows. So
yeah.
The only reason I'm hesitant is because he's still kind of new. And I don't think want to nerf stuff unless it is heavily problematic until it's been out for a while.
Can't Thanos just like shut him down basically? Like if Hulk can do it, can't Thanos do it? Because he gets to advance short and place 2.
Yes.
And then he could Space Stone backwards if he wanted. Like he could be even further away from him. I just don't like if board control is that strong against him, like why like I would imagine Thanos just fixes the problem. Also, I think
the problem
people should be playing Gwen because Lifesaver is so strong versus him. Like if you can set up,
you are not wrong. Escort to Safety and Lifesaver are great.
It's like if you just play against like Hulkbuster and Gwen, I'm like, how does he ever even do anything?
So
like,
the problem
is so far out of position.
No, Black Bifrost fixes all of that. That's the actual problem. It's not Malekith. It's Malekith in Cabal with Black Bifrost, because he says, "I don't care where you control me to. I auto go where I want to next turn." At which case
he gets to do that once for sure.
Yep.
But he does it in the power phase. Luckily, he's almost always going to have priority.
Yep.
So
that's one of the kind of lessons learned in the first month was that Malekith out of Cabal is good, but controllable. Inside Cabal, He doesn't lose anything, and he gains the anti-control that card offers.
Yeah, so you're getting your one turn of obvious engage, but unless you get like Hulkbuster dead or whoever is their control piece, I think they still get you. They obviously have to work you away from the points or move away from the points themselves. It's definitely not easy, but yeah, and Black Bifrost clearly helps a lot. It's interesting. I was telling Parker to run Comrade's Keeper and just throw his ass away.
Yeah.
All right. So we have some speculation about new stuff next month. I would be super for a small little update to some characters. I think those characters have been needing it. My biggest problem with Voodoo and Black Cat is they make mission selection really stale and boring because you basically just have to hard avoid specific missions because those characters break it. And honestly, grunts are exactly the same way. Worthy with a grunt parent having priority is just borderline cancer. Like, it's so annoying. It's like, I don't think they intended for grunt characters to have the level of power over the scenario that they do.
I'd say it's specifically Nick, because I think Shadowlands Daredevil, his grunt is less punishing in extracts.
It is, but it's not non-punishing. Like, if you just go wider than your opponent, how are they going to set it up in a certain way? Like, you could also take like sacrifice or just a bodyguard. There's a lot of ways you can try and protect that character. For example, you could take what's his face? Drawing a blank. Gambit. You take Gambit and give like the guy stealth if they don't already have it or whatever.
I don't think anything changes with grunt characters. I don't think it changes at all. But I could absolutely see these characters that are always in every, every bit of data says that Voodoo and Black Cat and Malekith are just Malekith's in the top 8 all the time, and Voodoo and Black Cat are just in every list all the time. They're just too much of outliers. The data, I think, will weigh in. I don't think there's enough data for Shield and Daredevil.
So, like, the grunt nerf I'm talking about is change worthy to B deployment.
Okay, yeah. Actually, and there is, if we're doing Wild Speculation Corner, that is, I think, the really interesting thing that they'll do. I do not think they'll ever be excited about changing the wording of a card. They'll just change Black Bifrost, or they will make it restricted.
Change the interaction.
Or they'll just make Black Bifrost restricted, or they will make, they might change the scenario itself, or just, make it restricted or something. That's how they do things in this game, is they almost always affect the little cards, not the big ones.
Yeah, so like, for example, if you change Worthy to a Bravo deployment instead of a Delta deployment, it gets rid of the Shield minion interaction, and it also gets rid of the Doctor Strange interaction of Doctor Strange getting 2 hammers guaranteed on the first turn.
I don't know if they'll do that. But it is something.
I don't know if they will, but it would fix both of those problematic interactions.
I think that is so low on their priority list. That's got to be like number 50 of things to do. Even though you and I,
it's not a crucial change. It's just something I'd like to see happen.
Yeah.
And I play one of the interactions. Like, it's just not fair.
I just played Star-Lord on Hammers the other day with the same thing, and it totally wrecked my opponent's game. He was like, "Wow, there is not a lot I can do about that." I go, "Nope. Here we go." Yeah, it's a thing, man.
All right. So that's going to wrap up news. Let's move into currently playing. Parker, you have subjugated all mutants. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. I have subjugated some mutants.
Some mutants. Did the mutants subjugate you first? Was that why you were so angry?
Yeah. So I played. I really want to play some Sentinels, so I worked like a dog to get my Sentinels all put together so I could play them this week. And John, awesome friend of the cast, was volunteered some time before regular game night to help out.
Friend's a strong word.
Oh, he is my dear friend, and of the cast, I think even more dear. And so he actually obliged me and played some X-Men. I don't know if he did it on purpose or if he also just liked to play X-Men. He's an experienced X-Men
player.
He
was planning on playing X-Men anyway.
Yeah. And so the first game went terribly because I had this really dumb baby idea about playing Sentinels with pay-to-flip blues, which was just a terrible idea. The original one was, Sentinels will have more power, so they can pay to flip more often and never be worried about that. And yet, the fact that the Sentinels can just stand there like towers and stop people from scoring is completely negated when your opponent can just get lucky on a dice roll. So that
Yeah,
that
that
game.
was my point.
Yeah. Really, really, really bad idea. So change up
can
the
I-
blues
can I
and
say
win it
something?
next. What's up?
That first game was the most one-sided game I've seen since Connor played you with She-Hulk.
I do not think that was that one-sided. No. It was.
It was like 18-3 on turn 3. It was pretty bad.
Oh, in terms of points, sure. Yeah. In terms
No,
of
like
points.
the fact that there was zero chance you could have won that game.
Yeah, no. And also, I had never put these guys down before. I just had an idea, and the idea had nothing to do with scenario. And so,
And like I said at the store, I actually think your logic train was fairly sound. The argument that my guys have a lot of power, I can afford to flip these over and over again, which I get, but I think it's worth talking about to the listeners because people might not realize why we're saying this.
yeah.
So, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but
You're wrong.
one of the benefits of Sentinels is that they're A, size 5, and B, have board control. And so they're good at secure scenarios for that reason. They're hard to move, and they move stuff easy.
You are not wrong.
Okay, damn. I try real hard to be wrong. All right. So that was just my perspective but while they do have like a 4 energy defense, so they're good at over flipping other people, the fact that there's even a chance of failure and you have a low model count, I think for that reason they're bad on.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that if your opponent has 2 more models than you, which is super easy to do, especially with his X-Men, because he likes to do swarmy X-Men. He was just checking afterwards, and there's nothing I could do about it. Now my tricks were working. I had some killy tricks, and they were working. So we fixed the scenarios and went back in for our second game, and it went much better for me. I went for C deployments. It ended up being Demons Downtown, which worked much better because one of my Sentinels just stood in the middle point, totally fine with sacrificing him because I could bring him back to life with the Tactus card. And I was playing the 2 Sentinels, Honey Badger, Heimdall, and Winter Soldier. And so Winter Soldier was holding the back point, and Honey Badger was actually standing next to Heimdall in between Sentinel Prime and regular Sentinel, and they were just pulling people in. And as soon as they get close, Honey Badger would give them -1 defense. They'd probably be incinerated because they were standing on a point, and then Heimdall would tap him with his sword.
Oh yeah, they'd be next to Honey Badger, so they're -2 defense dice and getting witchawed by Heimdall.
And so
yeah. And then also Heimdall would reroll his own dice, and Sentinel Prime would also reroll his dice.
Yeah.
And so he's infinite reroll Heimdall with a -2 defense roll.
Yeah.
It was pretty cute. And considering how much board control he has in the list, it was very easy to trigger it on most turns. It was actually very cute.
Yeah.
And if you try and do anything, you have to get bodyguarded by Honey Badger and then get drugged to your death anyway.
Mm-hmm. It was really good.
Cute.
Yeah, it was a really cool little cluster. He had a nice turn 2. His rogue went off and rolled no blanks, and so his rogue killed a bunch of stuff. But then I stood back up and won with the attrition, and he couldn't come back before the end of the game. My turn 3, I got all 8 points that were available because it was also cubes. So I scored all 8 on turn 3, and then he couldn't. He tried to come back, and I tried to lose because I'm Parker. I tried to fight instead of just running away, but
I think you win that game regardless.
Yeah.
But the only way you do lose if you stand and fight.
Right. So I've learned that my original take on Sentinels was false because my first take on their blues was wrong. However, I really like that they feel kind of like Web Warriors in that they're very like controlling all the time. I'm constantly controlling, but they are more fighty. They're more of a bully. They feel much more bullying, and I really like their access to a huge amount of power. I never was starved for anything. I was able to use all my Tactics cards. I like how the list works right now a bunch. So weaponizing the pull with Heimdall feels great. I really I thought that would work well, and it does.
Yeah. It was the most egregious Heimdall I've seen, except for maybe one game of Jake playing Heimdall with Steve. Because you think that he's not going to have enough power without Steve, but it doesn't seem to matter. Because you don't rely on him for all the rerolls, because Sentinel Prime does most of the rerolling. So Heimdall's really just paying for the Counter-Strike until he starts getting the chain going. and then you trigger the leadership, and then he's getting free power from you dazing a bunch of people.
It's also nice because you have the pocket place for your
Mhm.
several large bases. The
Yeah,
pocket
to
place.
counter control.
Yeah, the pocket place is also really strong. I also it was kind of interesting. You think like, okay, so you have these two towering models that are pretty beefy and bruisey, and so I'll just go kill Heimdall, which is not maybe that's not a bad idea. So my opponent just kills Heimdall. But I was thinking about it. I was like, well, then it's not. So yeah, you removed the damage I might do with Forfend, but you still have these two damn Sentinels breathing down your neck, or three of them. So you have to get around to killing them eventually. So it was interesting. I like
Yeah,
the
I
list
think-
so far.
I think a lot of the strength of the list is going to be recognizing if they can dig Heimdall out or if they cannot. And if they can, I think you should replace Honey Badger with like a Koye or something, some other
Right.
regular bodyguard, as opposed to an intimidating presence model. That way you can keep him alive for a little bit longer.
Mhm.
Or maybe put in fucking Gwen and just lifesaver him backwards.
Escort to safety on Sentinels feels awesome because they always have
Oh,
three.
yeah.
They always have
Yeah.
three.
And they're fucking huge.
Yeah, and so they pull through themselves. I haven't got it to happen yet, but I'm excited for somebody charges Heimdall to come get him. I move him backwards through the Sentinel after forfending right then and getting rerolls, so probably don't have enough power. And then after escort to safety backwards, then they could still get their action back to move towards me and attack, but then they get forfended again. So it's just so
Oh.
punishing to imagine trying to come in to get him is so unlikely. They have to try to
Isn't
get.
Checking.
Probably
I think
once per
forfends.
turn.
Once a turn, man. Come on.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
It's
so I
easy to
didn't-
miss because it's just a whole sentence at the bottom by itself.
Bolded.
Still
Yeah,
sad.
Bolded, italicized, triple XL font. So anyway, that's gonna wrap up Parker. Aaron, I have it written down here that you were born again as a shape-shifting mutant. Is that correct?
Wow. I don't know who told you that.
Parker, I'm gonna guess.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm in charge of the new of those. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The currently playing.
I'm actually so I have two currently playings to go through. Jeremy and I went to an awesome tournament last weekend down in Springfield, Missouri. Great bunch of people participating in the tournament, and I, like Parker, really wanted to put Stompy robots on the table. Unlike Parker, I wanted to do it in the right way, which is I heard that Prime gets along with mutants really well, so I played Prime.
Just
Go ahead.
I want to tell you, because this is actually correct. There are lots of storylines where Magneto takes over the Sentinels, and they work for the Brotherhood for brief periods. So that is actually very canon. So don't feel like you're
Okay.
like bastardizing the rules.
Either, but
Specifically during the Mutant Empire series.
in my list, he worked for Storm, so I played Prime with X-Men because Sentinels do not get around the board very well. Excuse me, and X-Men fixed that problem. So it was basically me playing Prime every game with Storm and whatever else fit the bill. First game went into Dormammu, and that was a really fun, interesting game. Wherever Dormammu went, he was just Moses. He would walk, and my entire army would just part in front of him and go off to the sides or around the. I just completely avoided Dormammu the entire game. I was able to do that because Juggernaut found the Kree Core and ran away. My Juggernaut.
Nah.
He eventually killed him, but not soon enough to win, so I outlasted him there. My second game was against Sentinels. We played on a D-Secure. Great opponent. But I just played I'm running around to the various Ds, and you're trying to chase me with your slow-ass moving robots. And it did not work well for him. And then my last game ended up being the closest from point score. I won 17-15 against Avengers. But yeah, so that worked out really well. Prime is a great model. In the first game, he just went off because rolling 8 dice with 3 rerolls twice in a row is really good. So Prime can just one-shot 3-threat models left and right. Obviously, he can
Yeah.
whiff, but that's a lot of dice
He's
he's rolling.
He's like a baby Dormammu.
Yeah. And then,
By,
like I
by
said,
baby, I mean taller and girthier.
X-Men fixed his biggest weakness, which is, action economy and movement. So, I'll let Jeremy talk about his tournament, and then we can get back to my second list here in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So we traveled to Springfield on Saturday, and my goal was to match something up with my Cabal Malekith list, because number one, I don't like always being that guy, because I only had Malekith as a leader for a while, and I kept running into this problem of like, I don't want to do that to people unless like they're okay with it. Like, okay, let's play this game. Cool. I would like to play against Malekith. Let's do it. Okay, cool. So I kept running into people who were either playing Malekith themselves or a newer player, and I kind of wanted something different. So anyway, I added in Black Order, the first of the Black Order, which both of the lists are
So
like.
when you play new players, you're like, how about instead I just play Black Order? And that was your plan?
The first of the
Wow.
Black Order. It's not any good, right? That's what people tell me.
That's not true. Continue.
So anyway,
Why do you hate these young children that you keep abusing?
No,
I'm
no. I
not-
think you
they're
should
not,
continue.
yeah.
I want to hear his description of how he did this.
So with that list, I don't have to take Malekith. I can actually go wide, and I don't have to take all the craziness. But I wanted to see if it was actually like decent. Was there options that made sense, or is I just, I don't know. I like both the lists a lot. So anyway, the first game I played was against Brandon Morris, and he was he's against playing Steve Rogers, and he was playing Sam, and at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure he should have played Steve, but he hates him, so he will not do that. And he played a bunch of basically 3-point models, and they all got killed. Black Order just killed them all.
Yeah.
I gained a bunch of power. There was just,
Weird. Who could
yeah,
have seen that coming?
I didn't. It just happened, man. Like, there's only so much I can
Uh-huh.
do. I haven't actually played Black Swan that much with the Power Stone.
Is that you told Brandon? You're like, just let it happen, man.
I was like, look, the more you struggle, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I just went in there and I did what I needed to do. Yeah, he's a great guy. It was a fun game, at least for me. We laughed
One
a
of us
lot.
had a good time.
He told me a lot of dad jokes while we were playing, but I ended up playing.
Oh, that was my favorite part of the story.
Yeah, he hit me with a dad joke about every 15 to 20 minutes.
He was just getting you back for the game you were giving him.
I guess. So after that, I played. What was his name?
Ryan?
Ryan. He was playing the Dormammu list. So he had Dormammu, and I was like, well, again, I'm not trying to drop Malekith into things. I'm trying to actually test this out. So I ran Black Order again. I had 4 models at 18, and the game ended up, I lost. He had 18, and I had 17. And it was one of those games where at the very end, he was able to kill Corvus. Had 3 health left with his very last attack on the very last thing, and Dormammu only had 1 health left on him. Like, it was one of those, like, it was getting ready to end, one way or the other. But he ended up getting me with that. Fun game. Again, there was tons of shit killed. It was one of those games. The last game I played, the poor fella. So in Fight Club, if you've seen that movie, most of us have, when the guy just ends up beating another guy half to death, and the one guy goes, "What happened with you, psycho?" And he's like, "I needed to destroy something beautiful." That was Alan. I lost a game with Black Order, so I was like, that's it, Malekith is coming out. He played Web Warriors, and it was, I think I tabled him on 5 or something. Like, I killed every model. Nothing was precious. All of them must die. The guy was super nice, and he lined up against it, and he's like, I don't think there's anything I can do. And after turn 3 or 4, I was like, there really isn't. I can't stop. But I will say about this tournament, though, and this group of guys, there was not a single issue, not a hiccup, not anything stupid or...
You mean you didn't have your usual screaming match in round 2 with somebody?
No, that's my point. No one needed to be disciplined about their attitude by me specifically. No, I mean...
You know, if you can't find the asshole in the room...
I've never claimed not to be it,
Okay.
but I'm at least playing this a game and not trying to enforce bullshit. Anyway, super nice guys, great time. Definitely try and make it every month if I can. It's one of those kind of things.
Yeah, I would love to go down to Springfield. I usually have fun when we go down there. I like all those guys. I'm excited to start traveling again. I'm targeting some kind of like mid to late November for like being able to travel again. It's going to be a good time.
And also, they have an amazing barbecue place right next door to them. I didn't realize
Pretty
it.
good.
Oh
Well,
man!
it's new. It's only been there like the last 2 times we went.
So yeah, that was really, really good. I suggest maybe splitting a meal because one is just insane. Half of a thing is just way too much food. It's very aggressive.
The thing that got me was how close Springfield was. I remembered it being like 3 hours, and it's like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's
But,
like
it was like nothing. Yeah,
it's basically Aaron's trip to work.
yeah, basically. Like Aaron lives like 3 baseball throws from Springfield,
It's
and then works in Kansas.
it's a solid 3 hours for me. But yeah, some people do live a little closer.
All right, so that's Aaron and Jeremy. Aaron, you said you had another list you want to talk about?
Yeah, so when I got done with that, I decided to build a new list that was more competitive focused, I guess, instead of just dropping Prime. Although Prime in X-Men is really good. So this was actually inspired by Second Wind. Ghostier ended up winning it with X-Men. And so I looked at his roster, and it's X-Men plus Voodoo, Maw, Juggernaut, and Toad. And I thought, Juggernaut and Toad, I love those guys, right? I always also try to fit Mystique into every roster I ever make. What affiliation has Mystique, Juggernaut, and Toad? Let me think. I know this one.
If only there was one.
If only there was one. So, my current actual playing roster now is a combination of Brotherhood and Cabal. It's, 90% a Brotherhood, 10% Cabal Splash if I have to.
The acronym we came up with that 2 years ago was Bro Balls.
Okay, great. I am now playing Bro Balls. But I'm taking the current meta, which is take a big guy and buff them. I'm absolutely playing that, but I'm not playing the typical Cabal or Avengers because I'm playing pure Mystique. So I don't even have Mags in my 10. So I'm playing Brotherhood without Magneto, focused purely on Mystique and extract play, along with Juggernaut and Hulk, or Juggernaut and Malekith, depending on the point totals.
Yeah, I like it.
That's it for me.
So I know that we have talked about how you were not in a happy place with the typical cookie cutter list that were showing up. Do you think that you're happy about this list because you're just actively avoiding playing what's popular right now, or
yes? So, and that's
is
a
it
personal
because
thing.
You just truly enjoy this list?
I truly, yes. So I've played it 3 times right now, won all 3 games, and all 3 times my opponent was like, "There's nothing I could have done," and I'm like, "That's right." So I enjoy that aspect of it.
So I know it fits your personal playstyle a little bit, where it's like I'm going to play a tactical scenario game and then just ignore the fighting as much as I can.
Yep.
So I know that fits your playstyle a bit more than obviously the Malekith list does.
Yeah. So I enjoy. I'd enjoyed. I'm finding enjoyment in the game now by not worrying about the meta list. How about that? Like I did not build this list to counter Mal. Like I have 0 anti-Mal tech. I did nothing to counter Hulk and Avengers, right? I'm just playing a list that I'm having fun with, making tactical decisions, moving, throwing, picking up stuff, making all of those in-game plays. And I didn't worry an iota about how to counter other stuff in the meta. And if I don't have to worry about the meta, then great. I can just play a game and have fun. And I think it's a good list and it's competitive, and it might beat those lists. It might get stomped. I have no idea. But as soon as I decided to not worry about that, all of a sudden the game's fun again.
Exactly, and that's what I was trying to say before. Is like I think you're just bending yourself over backwards, worrying about something that probably won't matter outside of TTS League.
I think sure. We don't really want to go into Second Wind too much, but the most recent big tourney had 3 Avengers in the top 7 and a Malekith. So 4 out of your top 7 was quote unquote meta.
Well, sure,
that way.
but we don't know that they're there because those lists are strong. Maybe the strong players think the lists are strong, which is why they're there.
It is a self-licking ice cream cone.
Exactly. I wouldn't have said that. Not exactly. I take everything back. That was a terrible analogy.
That's a great analogy.
I have this like if you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself? Kind of like mental thought. And I was like, what the fuck?
It's the exact same thing as a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Have you never heard that self-licking ice cream cone?
I've never heard that before.
That's amazing. I haven't heard that either.
The one thing I did hear today, though, is do you know how the Norse ships used to communicate with each other when they were traveling across the Atlantic?
I don't.
They would use Norse code.
It's awful.
Jeremy, do you get it?
No,
My
I
only
don't even
regret is
understand
that my silence editing software is going to break that pause down from like 10 seconds down to 1. And the people at home aren't going to know how long that we all just sat here in silence. Parker, are you awake? Parker's not awake.
So I would say, if you were to break those numbers down, like the thing I keep hearing is this story of Malekith being the baddie, when I gotta tell you, every list I see has Hulk in it. Like, I think that's the goddamn problem. It doesn't matter, Hulk, Steve, Hulk, whatever. Hulk is in every fucking list.
Do you think Hulk's actually the boogeyman and it's not Malekith?
I think it's the right one.
I concur with Jeremy. Like, my prime plan with my Brotherhood roster is to play at 16 with Juggernaut, Hulk, Mystique, and Toad. That's what I want to do.
That sounds like something I want to do too.
In fact, I played against Sentinels with that same thing. Hammers and some D secure. I put Juggernaut and Hulk on one side, and he's like, I don't know how to crack that nut. And I'm like, that's right. You don't. But I was up on point, so he has to crack it. I'm like, okay, come take Hulk's hammer and try to throw my two big guys off the point. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So
that's why I like Hulkbuster, because he seems to deal really well with Hulk, and then I think he does well against Malekith too. So I think Hulkbuster is an underutilized piece.
Not gonna disagree.
And obviously Juggernaut being able to fucking wombo throw anyone out of the zone without them having Indomitable is big.
Yep.
I also
and
see
it's very easy for a smart player. Like you need to pay attention to like what are your restrictions before I start picking my list, because you need to know if they have Indomitable, and so you can plan accordingly.
There's also other things that people aren't doing that, now that I've played Malekith a bunch, are really good against him. Ghost Rider dragging him off and incinerating him, and then just driving back is so good. Like,
bye, dude.
Oh man,
have fun over there.
There's tons of stuff.
I mean, if you're just playing
solid.
Midnight Suns in general, you could journey through Limbo him and then Highway to Hell him and literally put him in the corner.
Sure.
It's like, bye, just go away. Like, I don't want to deal with you anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, Hulk with the stagger and then throw him. Like, he can do that every turn, basically.
Well, I mean, the stagger is dice dependent, but yes.
I mean, there's ways. I think Hulk is much more egregious when it comes to board presence than Malekith. Malekith can kill some shit, but Hulk, on the other hand, just trying to control that force that he presents on the table is really hard.
I do not know. I haven't had enough games with Malekith to know this, but I can tell you that whenever I see a Hulk, I am so happy, because most lists I play are attrition. I think when I'm playing Sentinels and Hulk, I think I'll be very different. But normally when I'm playing Hulk, I just feel super happy because I just point all my guns at him and I go, well, I've won once he dies, and he's going to die.
Thank you for giving me the script for how to win this game.
Yes,
4 bullets into Hulk.
That's exactly what I think. That's as soon as I go, oh, he put a Hulk on his list, so I'm just going to kill the Hulk now. And I know it benefits me because I like to play armies that are killing things on turn 2. Like, I like to play armies that do damage on turn 1 and kill things on turn 2. And so I have put Hulk down on turn 3 so many times. The only time I didn't was the very first time I played against him, because I didn't know what he did. And I was like, I'll just kill him.
What you're talking about is a different type of Hulk that, like, what Hulk does and wins games is he gets a center objective or gets an objective and then backs up, and then you move into him, and then Hulk makes sure you never come close again. Like, whatever models are threatening, he can simply get rid of it and doesn't fight you. Like, he's not trying to fight you.
Yeah.
He only fights you when you get close enough to fight.
In my last tournament game, he decided to do that once he picked up a 2 extract, and it didn't work out because he couldn't score enough on the other stuff. But I was
if you turtle too hard, it really depends what you have. If you get the right mission lineup and it's like Gamma alien ship and you can get it early, it's ball breaking.
When he started running away with his Hulk, the game was over because I had Hulkbuster. And so as soon as it was his army versus Hulkbuster and my army, so sorry, his army minus Hulk versus my Hulkbuster and his army,
you're
like
up
he could
6
never.
points on the rest of the game.
Yeah,
you're
there's-
like, okay,
there's-
just have fun in the corner, buddy. Like,
Right.
I don't need to kill you.
And on turn 3, he decided to come in with Hulk, and I 2-rounded him, and that was it. It was like, okay.
I was gonna
I
say
do not know if
it's-
Malekith is that hard to kill. I do not know.
I was gonna say, remember the good old days when Hulk had access to all you've got and field dressing, and I'm like, oh wait, those weren't the good old days.
Yeah.
No.
Like that was the bad old days. It's like what happens when Hulk activates twice and then also comes back to life.
It's a weird pendulum. You know, before we're like, this is bullshit. You can't take any good characters because they just get one rounded because someone's
Yeah.
got fucking all you've got. Now we're like, oh my god, all these big guys are dominating the meta because nothing can fucking kill them.
Remember when Enchantress dazed 5 people in one activation? You're like, no, like what happened? Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on. So we had a couple topics come up due to TTS and some larger conventions and stuff. So basically, we're talking about like basically not higher level play, but like the big events and how some of the things are being affected by the community, and I want to talk about. So first off, a lot of people are playing games either on camera or on stream due to the popularity of the game, which is obviously great because people are interested in watching games, which means that the game is active, the community is hyped about the game. But also because of that, we have some weird interactions coming up because a lot of these games are being streamed live and people are interacting with the people playing the game when they're not in the game. As an example, when I went to Adepticon last year, we played on stream and we were caught doing some things wrong by the chat of the stream, and they informed the judge to come talk to us about stuff we had done wrong. And that directly impacted the game, obviously. And obviously in that game, I'm glad that we got it corrected, but sometimes it's really minuscule stuff that's like being called on people, basically by third-party people that aren't even at the event. And so I was curious what you guys thought about this. Like Aaron is probably more familiar with this exact interaction, but
Yes, I have very distinct thoughts on this. Do you want me to go now?
sure.
Okay. So, I mean, I watched like the TTS finals for season 8. Same thing. The commentators are texting the judge that's at the table to tell them that the players are forgetting a rule. I would refuse to play on stream if that is happening. I understand people want to watch games, and that's fine, but you keep your shit out of my game. And the reason I say it is not because I want to cheat. Like, I don't ever want to misapply a rule on purpose. But I play this game for the shared experience I have with my opponent, right? That's why I play this game, period. And the second someone starts interrupting that shared experience, like this game is not for the spectators. I understand you want to watch, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here for this experience with my opponent, that's it. It's just like if you're having sex, right? And someone taps you on the shoulder to be like, actually, you should hurry up because she's ready for the next phase here. You're like, okay, great. Maybe that would make sex better, but I wasn't looking to have perfect sex. I just wanted us to both have fun getting it on right now. That's how I'm with MCP. Like, we're not going to play the perfect game. We're just going to have fun together, 2 people playing a game. So that's where I'm at. Happy to play on stream, not happy to have kibitzing during the game.
I'm in the same place, but for a different reason. I do not want people that are not involved in the game affecting the game. And the reason I'm for that is I've been doing battle reports and video gamings and stuff for a long time now, close to 10 years. And as somebody who provides this service to the community, first of all, if you start fucking with people's games, they're going to have the exact same reaction. People are going to start refusing to play battle report games and stream games and videoed games because they don't want to deal with it. And they don't want to be called a cheater by the community because they forgot that their character had stealth. Like, it's not what the point of the recording is. The point of the recording is to bring this like new form of media to the consumer that you can share in the experience of the people playing the game. When you start like fucking with people, you're just going to make them upset and people aren't going to be recorded. We got to this point in War Machine as well, where so many large conventions had sometimes multiple streaming people videoing games, and people were like, well, I'm not playing on camera. I'm just not going to do it. I had a bad experience one time where like they thought I misplayed something in my game. Like I moved a model 5 inches instead of 4 inches, and then my opponent called me on it after the game was over. They reviewed the video and I got disqualified for it. And you're like, well, that shouldn't have happened. Like, that's just a mistake. If you didn't catch it in the moment, you didn't catch it. Like, it's whatever. You can't change a whole game because of like a videoed backup or anything. Like, it's ridiculous. And so you don't want to get to the point where this kind of shit starts happening. It just creates really bad issues. And also, being someone who's reviewed a lot of games and watched a lot of games over the years, specifically videoed games, you would be fucking amazed how much shit people get wrong. Because when you're in the moment, you're thinking about dice math, decision trees, tempo of the game, what's going to happen next turn, what decisions my opponent's thinking about, if I can, like, get this ability to happen with my opponent, like, not realizing they can stop me before it's too late. And so all this stuff's going through your head. Little stuff like, oh, I'm underneath this car right here. Like, I'm standing underneath the little lip of the car. Like, that's not what you're thinking about at the time. And little minutia stuff like that gets lost in through the cracks all the time. I don't think there's ever been a perfect war game ever played. Somebody always does something wrong, bumps a model, places something just barely out of range and thinks it's in, mismeasures the distance, misremembers a rule timing. There's always something somebody does wrong. And so trying to hold people to an unrealistic standard is just a good way to piss everybody off and not be actually fair. Because trust me, even if you think you're playing your game close to perfect, you're missing a lot of shit that your opponent's also missing because you're both so in the weeds trying to actually play the game at a high level. Like this, it's completely unrealistic to try and hold people to that standard. To have 10,000 people that aren't worrying about any of that shit watch their game and then critique their play. Like, it's just not fair.
Well, I have really strong feelings about it. Ever since I've started playing these games, the thing that's always bothered me the most is like when I'm playing these games, I put the reason I play these games is so I can take myself out of my own head and put all my thought into something that's not work and not drama or whatever. So when I'm focused on my game and my opponent and we're doing our thing, and someone decides to come up and start talking about bullshit stuff, and this can even be, did you see the game last night? Dude. But even, when you start nickel and dime things and telling your opponent, well, you should have done this, should have done that, I get derailed immediately. So I have to go almost back to start of where I was at in my line of thinking. So it's horrible. I fucking hate it. It's one thing to have a couple drinks and you're talking to the group of people and all that. That's fine. But if you're on a timer and playing a game and both people are doing the same thing, I mean, I guarantee everybody has missed an incinerate roll. Everybody has missed their stun once in a while. And almost every single game, there's at least one round where people forget about spider portals. Every fucking game, someone will forget one turn of spider portals. And you don't go, oh, well, you have those spiders, and I don't have any. So we need to start over because that could have made a difference. Just chill. Dude, it's done. Was it Pagani who posted last that was I can't tell you how to play the rules if you're not playing the rules or something? Yeah. What was that quote? It was so good.
It was the
Nagoldar,
forums, right?
Yeah, not the forums, the TTS Discord. The rules don't tell you how to not play by the rules.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was
There's no rule for what to do when you don't follow the rules.
Yeah. People were asking, what if you forget to declare which phasing you're in with vision? And I love the answer was there is no rule.
Follow the damn rules.
Yeah.
Stop. Fuck. It's basically the Jim Carrey thing from Liar Liar. Stop breaking the law, asshole.
Yeah.
It's that's the answer.
So I think
right.
also it puts intent on you or your opponent when someone walks up and goes, "Oh, they're not rolling that," or they're using too many dice, and all of a sudden they become the bad guy when you both were trying to play the same game. Nobody's trying to cheat you, but if somebody points it out, it can feel a lot like cheating. And it's dude, that's not the point.
Well, another thing, specifically in this game, the number of times people miscalculate damage or power is incredible. I've walked up to games in the middle of round 4, and because again, you're zoomed out, right? Everyone playing the game has such tunnel vision because you're worried about all the stuff turning the gears in your head and everything. And I'm watching them play, and I'm like, he just rolled 4 hits. He rolled 1 block. The guy took 4 damage. I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And I'll ask him, like, so you rolled 4 hits, right? And then I look at the guy's like, you blocked one, right? He's like, yeah, but he said 4. I thought he had already done the math. And I'm like, have you been doing this the whole time? Like, like you just block 0 this game because you never asked your opponent? Like, did you guys not clarify this at the start of the game? It's like, tell me your total, I'll tell you my total, we'll figure out the math together. He's like, no, I just assumed he was telling me the math. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it's like that shit happens all the time and people don't realize it. Like, oh man.
For me,
Yeah,
it's
and
very.
also- Go ahead.
Good. For me, it's really simple, which is it just boils down to this. I do not want someone to come up to my table and point things out to me in the middle of a tournament game. I already have too many things going on, period. And for that reason, I also don't want somebody virtually watching my tournament game and trying to point out something to anyone else. Like, it's just, like, that's enough. And
yeah, so
even on friendly game nights, I will walk up and while I'm watching somebody's game on, or even a friendly game night, if I say something out loud about a game, I will immediately check myself. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I do not mean to side seat drive. Is anybody, do you guys? I will ask it because I realize if I do it, because I like to watch games and I like to comment, and if I do that and I push somebody's trigger even on a friendly game, I want to know that, so I just cease completely. And a lot of friendly players will say, no, go ahead. I know you. You can talk about the game while we're playing it. But I would never do that in a competitive setting, ever. I learned that a long time ago. Period. Full stop. And that's why. That's like the bottom line. That's it.
Well, there's this unwritten rule in general in wargaming. If you're in a tournament, like, you're not allowed to talk to the players. Basically, like people will chat with them, but you cannot. It's called table talk. You can't talk about the game with people playing the game. They can talk at you, but you really shouldn't say anything back to them that has any kind of actual relevance. You're like, oh, like if they're like complaining about that, you're like, yeah, that sucks, man. Sorry. Like, but like you can't be like, oh, well, yeah, you forgot to use your spider senses on that last defense roll, idiot. It's like, well, you've just reminded him now that he needs to be rolling spider senses. Like, you just gave him an unfair advantage. You're effectively coaching him, and that's not allowed. You cannot give any kind of information to the players.
I think most of
I see that shit happen all the time.
Yeah, that happens. A lot of the issues with MCP are the must. Like, you forgot to power up. You cannot forget to power up. It's a requirement. Like, I'm not coaching you, I'm not helping you. I'm not. I'm telling you, you have to take these 2 damage because that's what the dice rolled.
Right. And so what actually needs to happen in that situation, which is the way every game is resolved, is if something that was required didn't happen, you talk with your opponent and figure it out. If you can't figure it out, you call a judge, and the judge makes a judgment call.
Right. The issue is, like, you and your opponent are just playing, and then someone else comes in. Like, your opponent didn't raise a question, judge wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like,
so
there's no issues.
That
people are creating an issue.
Right. The third party person, who, if he's not a event organizer for that event, a judge or a watcher, they have 0 right to interfere with your game. You need to tell them to shut the fuck up, and they're not allowed to say anything. And then you call the judge to tell them that this guy's fucking with your game, and they need to leave.
Concur.
And I understand that's kind of rude, but like I'm saying that as an example, not that you should actually say those words, but you can. And because the game is between 2 players. However they decide to play the game is how they fucking decide to play the game. If they decide that models don't power up, congrats, you don't power up in this game. Like, it's up to them. You're supposed to follow the rules, but if you guys agree on a way to play the game, that's all that matters. If you guys don't agree is when the judge is supposed to intervene. And so if you guys forget to power up and go, oh, we both forgot to power up, or you forgot to power up, and you say, just get your power, take the power, it doesn't matter. If your opponent's saying you don't get power, you forgot to power up, and you're saying, well, I do, it's a must, call the judge, and the judge is going to make a ruling. And the judge has 100% authority once you've called him. So just deal with it.
Yep.
But if it's anyone else but the judge or the watcher, tell them to fuck off. Like, they're not playing the game.
Yeah, I have to give Parker some props for letting... I forget who I was playing against. You watched us play an entire game where we both completely refused to use our leaderships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Refused is a strong word. Yeah. Forgot is a better word.
Yeah, I watched the entire thing going... But I knew. I was like, no, like, I'm not going to do this. They want.
But see, I still remember that. So the next time I play Thor, I won't forget his leadership ever. right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely how that's going to work.
I find myself reminding my opponents to do their leaderships and stuff because my turn is planned out based on them doing the shit that I expect them to do. Like, Sam, somebody dies. I'm like, are you going to move a guy? Or you can. Like, don't just stand there. This shit ain't going to work.
I catch myself because I at least recently I had a fairly intricate knowledge of the game because I spend way too much time thinking about this game, and so there's a lot of times I'll catch myself and like, well, my opponent's not using spider senses because he's fucking forgot, and I should probably tell him, but God, I'm tired of him making defense rolls. So like, and so I catch myself like, man, I should probably say something. But I'm not gonna, like, because it's like a tournament or whatever, and I'll like talk myself into it being okay. But most of the time I'll say something. I'm like, is there a reason that you're like just taking extra damage? Like any particular reason?
Here's an interesting tangent, I guess. If your opponent has a reactive ability, say Lifesaver, Escort to Safety, Lethal Protector, I've gotten in the habit of kind of like Jeremy. I will declare that an attack and ask my opponent if they have a response, just to be completely above board. Because the alternate is, I declare a target, I wait half a second, I roll dice. At that point, the opponent's like, oh, actually, I wanted to do this. Like, how long do you give your opponent to make those decisions?
Yeah, that's the etiquette thing, right? So there's there's two things that are definitely not, in my opinion, standard. One, or not acceptable. One is rushing, where you're like, all right, I attack Malekith, and you drop the dice instantly when you know he has a bodyguard. Like, you know it's possible. And so you're trying to force your opponent to forget by rushing him. And then the second one is basically asking them every time they have a trigger that they've forgotten about. I don't think that's really, like, if you want to do it, that's fine. But I think that's an unrealistic standard to hold people to. Like, if I have a bodyguard or any number of other abilities, I'm like, oh, did you want to escort to safety? Did you want a lifesaver? Did you want a bodyguard? Did you want a fucking quantum shielding? Like any number of things that they could do. It's like, well, that's not realistic. Like if it's the obvious time to use it and they clearly meant to and have just gotten like lost in the weeds where it's like, well, I'm going to move my bottle here so I can bodyguard your Helios laser. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to Helios Malekith. And you wait 5 seconds. You're like, so you're going to bodyguard, right? And he's like I could see that happening when it's obviously the play. And you're like, we both know, but he's been distracted because his wife texted him or something. Like, That's a completely different acceptable situation. But I don't expect you to go, are you going to raise the shield on Cap? Like, every time you attack him. Like, that's just silly.
Yeah.
I think there's the solid, like, 2 count. You go, all right, I'm going to Helios Cap. Here we go. And then you, like, go to drop the dice. Like he knows.
Yeah. I usually just ask, like, cool, good.
The other thing you do is on pivotal times, flip the clock. Like, that's what I love to do in War Machine. It's like, all right, this inverter is going to make a piston attack against this guy. Click. Their turn. And it's like, and then they can sit there and think about it if they want, or they can just hit it back to you and look confused. And you're like, either one is fine. Like, I'm going to, you've accepted that this is happening. Like, we're going to move on.
Yeah. It is interesting how often that, and that, I don't know, I've seen it quite a bit lately, where someone will do something and then just drop the dice without even a nudge or like a thought. So what I'll do then is I'll click it to myself and I go, okay, well, I'm going to bodyguard that. And they've already rolled the dice. And they just kind of stare at it. And I'm like, I'm bodyguarding it, like we're fucking doing it. And nobody seems to care. Like it, but they should care.
Well, I've never seen anyone freak out when they did something, when they didn't do anything wrong, right? Like, if they freak out, it's because they gave you ample time, usually. I've never seen anybody freak out when they, like, because, like, they knew they didn't give you enough time, right? They didn't give you time to say, wait. They just did it. You're like, well, I'm going to bodyguard. And you're like, oh, yeah, you have bodyguard. Of course you can bodyguard. Like, it's like, it's always like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's never, unless they were like, gave it a 3 count, and they go, okay, and then do it. Like, that's why I never let go of the dice until I say a confirmation of something. I was like, all right, okay, here it comes. Like, something like that. And then I'll let go of the dice.
I think the newest one that happens now is Eye in the Sky. I think that's one of the biggest ones now that's like, you look over, he's got 3 power on him. And everything you do essentially is, okay, I'm going. You almost have to pause because you don't even know what you're going to be able to do until they go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And usually in this game, unless you're like super rushing or on the ball in general, it's usually like, all right, Juggernaut's going to punch this guy, and then you reach for 5 dice, and it gives them a few seconds to say something anyway.
If I was one of these guys that really liked watching streams and then immediately telling people when they've forgotten something, I would love shield games. Because there's so many chances to be like, oh, he didn't get a power for he didn't get a victory point for losing a guy that turn. Oh, he didn't spin to power to aggressive, or oh, he could have aggressive there and he should have. Or oh, like.
Well, that's all May stuff. They're talking about like functionally breaking the rules.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys forgot to spider portals again. Or
Okay,
you guys forgot to And so that's a little different. Like Convocation also, like you could stand there all fucking day and write a fucking book about the triggers they missed. But yeah, I understand the problem is when the game should be played at an even standard, right? Like the games on the final table should be the same quality as the games on the fucking early rounds. The game quality should not change because there's 600 fuckheads that have nothing better to do than type in Twitch chat, "Hey, judge, they're cheating, throw them out," because their bases overlapped. And you're like, okay, well, you're just encouraging the judge to insert himself into a game that he wasn't required to be part of.
Yeah, both players are still gaining power even though they're stunned.
Now, if, like, on the first turn of the game, one of them picks up the researcher, then yeah, you should insert yourself into the game. There's a different standard here, right? Because you've created a completely impossible game state. Not like an impossible game state like you couldn't have gotten here. Like this is impossible that nobody caught this. Like,
again, you have an opponent that's playing with you on top table. I mean,
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, what are the odds neither of them thought about this and caught it? It'd be like if the judge was saying, no, wait, you guys are clearly new. This is how this works. Like, they go, no, we're fine. And you're like, all right, like, whatever.
Fine.
Just tell me who wins.
Just put in your results. Like, I don't give a shit.
Here's actually what you just said kind of reminds me of this too, which is especially like anybody who thinks they're being a social justice warrior by like messaging
I'm
TO.
helping.
Yeah, anybody who thinks that, just so you know, no one wants that kind of attention. There's not like there's not a new player that's like, oh man, I really would love somebody to hover over my game and scrutinize all the mistakes I'm missing, or I really need somebody to defend my honor or to make sure that this game is great. Nobody wants that. I don't think anyone wants that. Maybe I'm wrong, and somebody has said they're like, well, I love geriatric snuff porn, so I really like, being, making sure that people watch my games and keep it honest. But I can't think of that person.
We're definitely getting a blue
flag. I like my games like I like my porn, old and dead.
Yeah. By the way, if you're wondering why did I throw geriatric snuff porn in there, it's because this is a callback to a pre-ramble. So just listen to the ramble, you'll find out more.
Yeah. Parker tells you about his favorite videos.
Oh, God.
I talked to you about a video that I'm sure exists. That's how we got there.
Ask me how I know.
In the existence of this thing makes it real.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So anyone wondering what the actual fix for this situation is, we can look at every other competitive game ever's answer to this problem, which is if you and your opponent have created an illegal game state and the judge becomes aware of it, you both get a warning. If you do it again, you're both disqualified. That's how it actually works. If you walk over and there's 2 models have their bases overlapped, and the judge goes, "Why is this the situation?" and you both go, "Is there a problem?" You go, "Yeah, that's a warning. You've created an illegal game state." It's up to both of you to maintain the integrity of the game state. You have now both gotten a warning. Fix this problem, and if it happens again, you're both disqualified.
So, are you saying that people need to be able to be disqualified if they are found to make an illegal game state by third-party viewers?
No, because that's not a third-party viewer. That's the judge.
Yeah, but if the judge
if a random fuckhead walks by, you tell him to fuck off.
No, not the random fuckhead.
Yeah.
The random fuckhead obviously is not
right. So that's how you fix it.
But these third-party viewers, these folks who are watching on
the problem is
stream.
the third-party viewers are texting the judge and then encouraging the judge to insert himself into situations where he's not wanted. And so, if you want this to never be a problem in games you play, when you go to a tournament, go up to the judge and be like, "Hey, I've had an issue in the past," or like, "I'm concerned about this happening. What is your standard protocol if a third-party individual encourages you to either watch or intervene in one of my games? What is your plan? Like, are you gonna ignore the request unless one of us asks you, or are you going to automatically insert yourself into the situation? And so at least that way you know what's going to happen if that comes up. And you can talk with your opponents in your games also, but there's not really much you can do. It's up to the judge. Like, for me, as an example, I run a lot of events. I have no reason to intervene in one of your games unless one of the players wants me to.
Mhm.
Like, when I'm watching, when I came in and you and Brandon were doing your best to absolutely ruin a whole ass fucking hog of a game.
Yeah, that happened.
I don't know if I've seen so many mistakes happen in 30 seconds in my entire
Yeah,
life.
it was
I was just like
terrible.
sitting there, like literally biting through my lower lip, like, And then you turn to me like, what do I do? I was like, I'm not allowed to coach you, Parker. Like, I don't know what you're wanting me to say here. It's like, as soon as you end the game, I can tell you what you were supposed to do.
Mhm. I think that,
Um,
and it's, Brent, I have this really like clairvoyant image of somebody messaging you on Discord saying, "Hey, I'm watching this, this game being streamed right now, and I know you're the TO. I need you to go, let them know there's a legal game state." And you just immediately message you back, "Fuck who dis, fuck off." Just immediately.
I'll just send you back, like, it's like, oh, that's cool. I'm also watching a video and just link to Pornhub.
Yeah.
Like,
Just
fuck off.
I could just see
I-
your immediate reaction of pure integrity, which is no, you're not here.
I'm just excited that now there's an official when a game is going sideways and it's completely fucked up, you're ruining the whole hog. I'm just
Yeah.
glad
Yeah.
that now I have the term to use for
Yeah.
a Brandon v. Parker.
You've just ruined this whole ass fucking hog.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked about the Parker time game, right? Like we talked about this on the cast.
No, we did not talk about the Parker time.
We
game.
didn't talk about this on
and
the cast.
we do not need to spend time on the Parker time game.
No, we're
on this
talking
cast.
about
This
this.
is not.
This
is not.
This
important.
is getting hashed out.
This is
All
not
right,
important.
so
Jesus Christ.
Parker, the best thing that you can go watch this game. That's the best part. It was on video.
If
and
you
so
want
if
to
we-
watch my greatest time shame, you're welcome.
Actually, I don't think it's not posted yet. All right, so it's still a surprise.
Oh, it's not a surprise.
Oh, wait,
I'll
wait.
spoil the end
Parker,
for you right now.
Wait. Look, check this out. It's on one of these memory cards right here. It's in my hands.
Time shamed.
Yeah. So, for anyone still wondering what the fuck is going on, Parker played in our local tournament this month, and he played Brandon in round 2.
2.
Yeah, round 2. And I go into the room because every other game was done. I'm like, well, it's Parker, and he's the slowest fucking player I've ever even heard of. So clearly they're not done yet. And so I walk in, I open the door, and they're still playing. I'm like, that makes sense. I kind of like nose around the camera. I'm like, what's going on? How's everything going? And I'm like looking at the board state. I'm like, wow, everything's still alive. This could be an issue. Maybe they forgot to start their chess clocks. And I look up, and Parker has 1 minute and 30 seconds left on his clock. And all of his models are healthy. And I'm like, oh shit. So clearly Brandon's been tabled. And then I look over the building and I go, oh, most of Brandon's models are also alive because they're both playing fucking Avengers. I was like, no wonder this happened. And then Brandon has
less
like
time, by the way.
3 minutes on his clock.
No, at that point Brandon had less time, I think. But we continue.
No, Brandon had a lot of time still.
Okay.
Well, he was resolving the Helios laser when I walked in.
That's right.
And so that ate through most of the 3 minutes because he had to roll 5 batches of dice to do effectively nothing.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can recall. You probably
we-
played Heroes for Hire
Yeah,
on the Helios?
Can we just like do, I can
No.
fast forward?
I'm getting to it. No.
There's
I'm
no
getting to it.
reason why everybody needs to
There's
know
a reason.
the 17
see,
things.
What
They
you're
can
doing
watch
is
the
wasting
video.
time. What I'm doing is trying to is set up an ambiance. And you arguing about what I am explaining is the only actual time waste.
You're asking me for clarifying questions. No, Heroes for Hire was not played on his.
Okay, so he just decided Helios Luke Cage then, which was
Yes.
super intelligent.
Yeah.
Whatever, I don't care. Like that was the board state when I walked in. He rolls like 26 dice into fucking dumbass, and it's like I think he dies.
Mhm.
So because he dazed somebody, Parker, who has 1 minute and 30 seconds of time, decides to use Bucky's "I've Got Your Back" and into Iron Man, and then triggers the rapid fire. So he must take both of these attacks on his time. And by the time he's resolved this, he's down to like 1:10.
I did
It
I did KO Iron Man with it. It did. Do
Yeah,
something.
sure. Well, technically, bleed KO'd Iron Man. That's a
Yeah,
game
that's
effect,
true.
not you. because he got bleed with 4 damage on him after he made his second action and died. It was actually pretty funny. And so then it goes to Parker. Parker, as it's rolling, passes 1 minute. Parker goes, "I'll activate Winter Soldier," and he's up 13-5, and it's turn 5, and I'm like, what the fuck? like, what are you doing? And then proceeds to quad tap Captain America on his injured side as his fucking time is draining out. And I'm like, what is happening? Parker ends the round with, 5 seconds, 3 seconds on your clock? And then Brandon's just sitting there like really confused, letting his clock run in response, like, why is he doing this? And then eventually you guys end up with like 3 seconds and 7 seconds on your collective time. And Parker goes up like 14-10 or something on points. Like it wasn't that. It was like 14-6. It was a very insurmountable lead. All Parker needed to do was say all my models double shake or something, like the equivalent of that on his time. And so we got into the argument, like while we were paused in the power phase, what do I do? And it was like, I can't tell you how to play your turn because I'm an impartial judge. And so all I can say is you need to activate your models. You have 3 seconds left. And so it's like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? If Parker knew that he needed to just like slam the clock and say double pass and point to a model and then slam the clock again, and you need to do that 5 times in 3 seconds, that's the only way you can get out of this game. But I can't like coach him at it, right? But also, like, they never called me in before. I was just standing there randomly because all the other games were.
We're talking about one of those like even things in games, right? If you do watch the video, you'll notice that at one point we don't remember exactly how the circumstance happened, but I lost like 10 plus minutes on my clock for one thing we did some turn, and so that's
there's like when I walked in, the time was on you.
Yeah.
While he was resolving Helios laser.
Yeah, there was a bunch of things like the
there
clock.
Was and because you both were like frantically trying to get through it.
Yeah,
there was constant mistakes. Like I don't think you guys got through a single activation without doing something wrong.
Right. It was very. Also, Brandon, like the game in terms of play, it was one of my cleanest playing against the Avengers I've ever played. I was so happy with my play. And we just totally messed up the clock
and
from like round 2.
A soup kitchen, yeah. Like...
And so I got really tilted. I was frustrated at the very end because I was looking at this going, I played such an impeccable game, and I felt so good about my play.
Yeah.
It all worked.
You did all the important stuff right, but then you just like
at the
end you lost sight of what was important.
Right. I looked at the clock. I did not know it was 1:30. I thought it was a different number. I just looked incorrectly at the digital clock.
You thought you had like 3 minutes and you had 1 minute.
Yeah. And so I did not realize that. And so when I activated Winter Soldier and I looked down again and it was like sub 10 seconds, I was like, well, shit. Like,
yeah.
So all these things, but I guess this is my, this kind of go back to this idea of like, if somebody was watching, if that wasn't recorded and that was live, with the internet, with the stream blowing up.
Oh yeah. Like if that game got,
shit,
like if that was a live stream of the finals, dude, there'd be people with pitchforks at your house.
Right.
Like, and so it's like that people need to calm down. Like it's a game. We're playing this as a recreation.
Right.
People are generally doing their best and learning along the way. Like, I don't understand. Like, people think this is like the fucking World Cup or something.
Yeah. Not my finest hour, nor Brandon's. We were both just like, Brandon was like, man, I totally mishandled this game, and we mishandled the clock. And it was, But in that situation, we were both gentlemen about it, and we decided to do what we thought was best. And it would have been terrible if the internet had decided what was best. Ugh. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the general moral of this whole thing.
Right.
It's always bad when the internet decides what's best.
So, right, and like nobody asked me for my opinion while I was standing, even though like you had a judge literally watching your game. Yeah. And I was just sitting there being quiet, not really interjecting myself in the game because I knew that you guys were trying to wrap it up. Like, you could have, as soon as you got to the cleanup phase, been like, okay, so all I need to do is pass turn and I win the game, right? It's like, so can we just call it? Like there's nothing you can do to get 9 points, and there's nothing I can do to not, like, to lose, because, like, you can't table me, and neither of us have time to do anything other than scream pass back and forth. Like, so we'll just call it here. Like, that's why I would recommend, like, talk it out with your opponent, because if you just go, well, guess we got to call a judge, like it's almost never going to go the way you guys want, because a third party is just going to make a judgment call who hasn't been standing here for the entire game.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times people like will call a judge over, and like the judge has to make a ruling generally in about 10 seconds of absorbing information, and he doesn't know like how you guys have been playing, what the standard of play has been. Like he doesn't know if you guys like forgot to pause your clock for a while or like anything like that. So basically be very vocal with your opponents. You'll work as a team to play the game. It's not like completely adversarial, but also keep it clean. And then if you have something that you can't come to an agreement on, just call a judge. And the whole point is that they break the tie, right? If you guys can't agree, they'll pick one of you to agree with. That's all they're doing.
I think you needed to walk in the room, and they both have 0-0 on their timers, and they look at you and go, "What do
One
we
guy's
do?"
clock is beeping. It has been for a long time. And you're like, what is it? Hey, we meant to ask, what does that mean when it beeps like that? I was like, Jesus Christ.
You both need to go home.
Yeah, there was I have some drama to tell you. So like this is the state of 40K, and so there was a large convention level event that happened. Is large GT for 40K, and there's two guys playing a game. At one point, a player's clock runs to 0, and then he continues to play. Does anyone know what the rule is when your clock goes to 0 in 40K?
No idea.
Is it you lose?
Nope. You should, but that is not the case. You go to 0, you basically can't do anything but roll saves. You can't move your models, you can't spend command points, you can't activate abilities, you can't cast powers, you can't make attacks, you can't defend yourself. You can only roll saves.
Huh. Interesting.
Right, it's really weird. And then some people play it to where you don't even get to roll saves. Like, you're not allowed to roll dice, basically, when your clock runs out. And I was like, why don't you just say they lose? He's like, well, what if they've won the game? I was like, then they've won the game and it's over. Like, what are you talking about? It's like they argue about it. It's like, well, what if like they only needed 2 more seconds to win? It's like, well, then they failed to achieve victory in the time allotted. Like, play faster. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point of the clock, sir. Like, you just like, what happens when you don't narrowly avoid hitting a pole in your car? It's like, well, then you hit a pole. Like, that's like
don't narrowly
very
avoid
thin line. You don't avoid hitting a pole. Like, there's one thing you were trying to do: win the game in the time allotted. Like,
It's like
Anyway.
almost not getting your girlfriend pregnant.
right? It's like, well, I'm sorry.
Almost.
Like, yeah. You almost got away from the cops. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, you've achieved second place, sir. So anyway, the player continues to play the game as normal, and his opponent is basically like, you can't do that. Like, you have to stop playing. He's like, your time's out. He's like, nah. And he just ignores him and keeps playing. So he just like
Nah.
socially bullies his way into continuing to play the game. So eventually, the guy's like, all right, well, this is ridiculous. I'm calling the judge because you're not listening. Calls the judge. The judge comes over. He's like, yeah, you can't do anything when your time runs out. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he just keeps doing stuff. Like, he's moving models, making dice rolls, making attacks. And they're like, no, you can't do anything. And he's like, just stonewall ignoring the judge.
Wow.
Right? And you're like, okay. And the judge is like, all right, whatever. And just walks away from the table.
No. Wait.
Yeah.
Like allows
And so
the
the
game
judge,
to keep going?
apparently, like, I wasn't there.
Continue.
This is third-hand story.
Yeah.
So effectively, what was expected was the player would report a victory because his opponent was just not listening, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do when the guy just blatantly is ignoring you? He's like, I move my models here. He's like, well, you can't move your models. Like, I move them here. They're there. It's like, what do you reach over and move them back? Like, what do you do?
He's scoop and win.
It's like, right. He's like, all right, I'm picking up my models because you've clearly conceded to play by the rules, right?
Mhm.
And so you pick up your models. So then they get into an argument, right? Like, what you would like? This is where Jeremy Strat all the way argue with your opponent. Like, when in doubt, scream in their face, yell and spit,
I'll
right?
finish
Like
strong.
that's all Jeremy does. Yeah. So they get into an argument for like half an hour over how to report the game. Guys, like, you're not getting these points because you illegally obtained them. We're not reporting it that way, and they have to both put the score in and type in their PIN numbers, or it won't accept the score. So they argue for so long that the end of the round comes and goes, and they get past the point of score submission time, and they've locked the pairings, so they both get a loss because they never put in a score because they couldn't agree on a score. And so, when in doubt, drag your opponent down with you by refusing to put
God.
in a score.
Wow.
I was like, fuck, that sounds exactly like 40K from my memory.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, I take it back. The internet is needed for some things.
The internet's needed.
That person
Boo
should.
this man.
That person should be held accountable, probably.
That
somehow.
person should get death threats.
No. That person should not be hazed.
Yeah.
But there's definitely there's some system that needs to be enacted here of social.
So
social,
I want to say it was like 2010, the first World Team Championships for War Machine where America went, right? It was before that it was basically a European thing, and then eventually America went and they became a World Team Championship, so a European Team Championship. Obviously a ton of people went with video cameras to record matches. So it was 5v5 matches, best of 3 or best of 5 takes the round. And so they were recording, I think it was like 10 matches around. They had 50 tables being recorded every round. It was crazy. It was this huge event, huge media coverage, like for gaming anyway. And so all this stuff is going, and they're all live streamed around the world, globally live streamed games. It was a huge thing in 2010. It was because it basically didn't exist yet. One of the teams had a rotational player because someone had to bow out last minute. There was 15 U.S. players. One of them got replaced by the team's backup. I want to say his name was Anthony, but I'm not sure, and it's fine if it's not. He was egregiously cheating in all of his games. He lied about his rule mechanics on stuff that he would clearly know. He was finger of godding, moving models after he asked his opponent a question. So he'd be like, hey, is this rule like have this effect? Or can you tell me the exact wording? So the person would look down, find the rule card, turn it over and read it to him. And while he was reading, he would reach down on the table and move stuff while he's reading. Reading really asked him to read to him. And so because it was being live streamed, like this started getting out. It was subtle stuff, but it happened repeatedly. And so, and obviously this is intentional, egregious cheating. This is not like making mistakes in games. This is a completely different level of problem. So when that guy got back to the US, it exploded. Everyone in the community knew about what had happened. And because he was representing America in the games, it was ridiculous the backlash this guy got. His family got death threats from like hundreds of people. It was dark. It was real dark. And so like, it's like, yeah, the guy did some really scummy shit, but like he cheated at Mandollies. Maybe don't threaten his wife.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like not the same thing, right? Like,
right.
Like, come on.
That's like that's like when you break up with someone and that person like slut shames the person and like takes nudes and just plasters them all.
Yeah, like you're
whoa.
getting some really dark stuff going on. It's like
why
this is a clear. Yeah. It's like, okay, there's a clean cut. Like this guy is now like ostracized from the community. Nobody's gonna play with him because you basically like put this image of who we are as a community out there that is completely false, and you were just a dick about it. Like sure, like no one's gonna play with you. Basically, you're gonna have to only play with friends. You're not gonna be able to go to any large events. You're basically banned from all the big stuff, and everyone hates you. I get it, but like they like super cross the line, and so like the internet just has this way of really overreacting and going to a dark place, and so I really don't want that kind of shit to keep happening in like the world of battle reports.
Yes.
Because I like battle reports. I record battle reports. I post them. They're online for free. I want everybody to be able to enjoy these cool things. Mm-hmm. And yeah, people need to calm the fuck down sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like it's what's the Kurt Vonnegut line? If you open up your world, if you open up your window to the world, you'll get the flu. Like as soon as you decide to make something really public, you're also inviting in all the worst aspects of humanity whenever they get in moss. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's like when the guy first invented YouTube, he uploaded the first video and it got the comment, "Go kill yourself," and he's like, "Great, like fuck, I've ruined everything." Yeah. All right, cool. Parker, did you do a comic corner for today?
Yeah, I got comic corners. I got comic corners for days.
Corner our comics.
Okay. So, my comic corner today, it actually is, it's kind of a two-parter, but I really liked it. It's actually, it was honor of the Blob, because it's the only time that I've ever seen the Blob like take center stage as a really interesting character, as opposed to just a guy that Jubilee like startles with fireworks and falls over, and that's the end of his like comic. So This is Uncanny X-Force. X-Force, like modern X-Force, is a bunch of incarnations, but this is Uncanny X-Force. So when Wolverine was running it, after Cyclops told him to stop doing it, he ran it behind the scenes with Psylocke, Phantom X, and Deadpool. So this is how Deadpool is kind of in X-Force and why he's in X-Force and MCP. And long story short, in early Uncanny X-Force issues, they find out that there's going to be a new Apocalypse. They've made a new Apocalypse, and he is being indoctrinated. He's a young child. And so they show up and, do what X-Force does. They murder him. And so this series that I want to talk about is there's a whole huge arc about how they deal with the fact that they murdered functionally a child before he ever committed any sins. Is that okay? And it comes back to this one called Final Execution, which is Uncanny X-Force. Finally, all these sins come home to roost, and they have to deal with this thing that they did together. And it's also the end of the Uncanny X-Force. It's the big summarization. It's 2 graphic novels, Final Execution book 1 and book 2. But in it, one of my favorite things they encounter is they go to the Age of Apocalypse at one point, and they encounter the Age of Apocalypse's Blob, and he is so badass. Fred Dukes in our universe is just kind of this super comic character, almost like Relief, just kind of derpy. But the one in the Age of Apocalypse is Darky Dark. He eats people like he's a cannibal, and so he ate Nightcrawler's wife. Like that universe is Nightcrawler's wife. And so Nightcrawler finds out that Age of Apocalypse Blob is traveled through the timelines back to our primary universe, and so he goes with X-Force, and he has only one job: kill Blob. That's all he wants to do. He's just totally driven by revenge, and so he's kind of tagging along with X-Force to only do that. And Blob gets involved with Daken, Wolverine's son, and Sabretooth, and they're out to manipulate this whole terrible sin that X-Force did by killing this heir of Apocalypse. And it is really, really good. So if you guys want to, if this all sounds wonderful, if this sounds like, yes, I'm in for a super dark, gritty story featuring some really cool characters from the extended X-Men universe all coming together in this big climax, it's great. It also has, in my opinion, a little side note, the best Deadpool ever. Because ever written, I think, is in this series of Uncanny X-Force, because he is that same wisecracking, nonchalant asshole, a little bit, screw loose, a little bit unable to understand reality, but they give him something round in this one, which is that they killed the original Apocalypse. They killed the reborn Apocalypse, and that actually sits really bad with Wade. He's the only character that really has a hard time reconciling this, and he can't handle that they did it. Every other character is able to rationalize it, but him. And so how he ends up working through and reconciling this sin that they committed together is fascinating. Really fun to read. If you're a Deadpool fan, it's great. If you're a Wolverine fan, it's awesome. If you just like extended X-Men dark stories, really good. I recommend it. Final Execution is the end of the Uncanny X-Force. Really strong.
Cool. All right. Well, that's probably going to wrap it up for us today. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you had a good time. And this has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy on Discord.
And Aaron.
And you have just listened to Parker Shares Some Videos.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
Okay, maybe it's the new internet connection, but you guys all clapped in perfect unison on my end all 3 times.
That's
never happened before.
That's the power of positive thinking. And
I think before I was just so much faster than all of you guys. It's like watching it in slow motion, and so it was you guys were all staggered.
Hmm.
I feel
now
like we
just
have like a black belt and clapping at
Yeah.
the same time.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, you get black belts for being good at stuff.
We did it though. We achieved it. Unlocked.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're pretty excellent at it. I challenge anyone to a game of 3-person clap off, and I believe I will win with you two by my side. I don't think there's any way. If I just walked up, if you and I and Aaron just walked up to any person on the street right now, any group of 3 people, and said,
And be like,
3-person
"Clap off,
clap off,
go,
go,
1, 2, 3."
and we did it, I think everyone loses. I don't think anyone can beat us
That's
under
yeah.
those stipulations precisely.
Yeah.
Can
I didn't
put
know
that
you
in my
felt that
resume?
way. I'm very proud.
As long
to be a
as
part
it
of
was
that.
3 people that have never met before, I think you would win.
No, I think even to learned individuals,
Even a team of Olympic clappers.
yeah,
are you
I
insane?
think even a
Olympic
team of
clappers.
Olympic clappers. I think if I walked up to a team of Olympic clappers and I designated 3 of them, because I think the Olympic clapping team is actually larger than 3. But if you have
Yeah, it's
exactly
5.
3, then
It's
I would
5.
walk up to it and I would say, 3-person clap off, go. I think right then, I think they lose.
Mm. Well, they'd probably be so worried about getting injured and like losing their contracts
You're true.
that they wouldn't put their whole soul into it.
It's not fair. The amateur versus the professional. Sometimes the amateur has that advantage.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
When you challenge them, are you wearing clothes?
All of them. Yeah.
All of them. I'm not
All
so sure
of
of our.
them.
I
I
thought you were
wear-
distracting them at first. I'm not so sure we win anymore.
No, I think it's pretty distracting if you wear all of your clothes, like 7 or 8 shirts and like 7 or 8 pants. and, like-
all of your clothes.
my wife did that when traveling on Ryanair. You guys familiar with their
Yeah.
policies?
No.
Yeah, if you try and bring a piece of luggage on, they shoot you.
Well, no, it's one of the super low cost budget European
Yeah,
airlines.
it's like Spirit. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like Spirit. It's like $20 flights, but every
Like
carry on is like
$900
$40.
for a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So she wore 5 pairs of pants and 7 shirts with sweaters.
Wow.
So she's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Woman getting
That's-
on the plane. No
that's
carry-ons here.
That's how.
Thing
my
is,
brother
everyone
travels.
did that.
Yeah.
It was kind of a known thing.
hmm
Wow.
And then they
and you're
sardine
like,
in.
I'll just pay the $40.
Oh no, I'm right
Not
with her.
look like an idiot.
Oh no, we
Yeah,
both
okay.
did it. I said her, but
Gotcha.
it was both of us.
Mhm.
And it's not
There's
like
a reason I
$40.
have. There's a reason I have a hobby budget now, and it's because I did shit like that for 30 years.
Yeah.
So listen
You're
up,
like,
people.
You
want
have a
hobby
carry
budget.
on? That's an extra $200. You're like, whoa, hold on.
I'm just gonna buy a seat for my bag because that's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, there
that
you
would
go.
be cheaper.
The bag does not have any carry-ons.
All right, Parker.
Mhm.
How much you been paying attention to stuff online?
You mean like all the news or all the
No. Well, I mean news-ish, news adjacent.
with
Yeah.
the
Have you seen the new symbol on the rules document?
Yeah.
The new Sentinel cards.
Yeah, I got that. Uh-huh.
Have you read up on it? You know what it is? You know exactly which symbol it is?
No. What? Oh, no. I feel like I'm being
Can you-
trolled. Here we go.
No, I was hoping you would know. I've seen some people trying to analyze it, and they have it basically down to it's only been used twice.
Oh,
Once was because it's not a normal X. It's like
Right.
an X with like tapered edges.
also it's negative. Like it's negative, right? Not
Right, it's a negative.
Yeah.
And so they said it was either House of X or this alternate X-Men novel that was like basically bad guys that were X-Men. It was weird. I don't know. I guess I could try and find it again.
No,
It was-
I found the House of X. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The House of X logo.
Well, there was a
Yeah.
post where the guy side by sided them, and like these are the only 2 places I can find this logo.
Yeah.
And so I was trying. I knew one of them just said X-Men, but I was gonna like I don't know the people on it.
hmm
So I was going to try and find it on social media again. I probably should have just posted it the first time I saw it.
Does it matter? Have they ever named them, or there's always just been people just name them?
Well, I mean I think it's going to be X-Force. Or not, sorry, Weapon X. I think it's going to be Weapon X, but based on what I've been seeing online, it doesn't match the Weapon X logos.
Right.
Come on, Facebook algorithm. Listen to what I'm saying and find it.
Well, the
Do
Weapon
you guys
X.
ever say, do you ever like looking for something on Facebook and you start talking about it and then it
Mhm.
like shows up? You're like, oh, thank God. This is way easier.
Yeah, the Weapon X
No.
logo doesn't really have that shape at all.
It's just
this-
the X-Men, but with different colors.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the picture was like a side by side of House of X, where it had like Magneto and Jean Grey and a bunch of other people walking through a portal onto the Galapagos, wherever the fuck the name of that island is.
Krakoa.
And the other Krakoa, yeah. And then the other one was like a super high-tech sci-fi looking like assault team that was called X-Men, but I didn't recognize anyone in the picture. Oh well, I can't find it. I give up.
So we have, like, for the first time ever, so much content that we have come up with. We're just, our cup overfloweth. What are we going to talk about today?
Nothing.
I would like to start with, have y'all finished She-Hulk? Because I am mad.
Yeah. You're mad?
2 episodes.
Mad. Ooh, I want to know
Aaron
why.
started it.
Started, almost finished. Just waiting on my daughter
Yeah,
to have
it's
time.
fine.
Oh man, she can't. Well, then we can't talk about it yet, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll take my headset off. You guys give me a thumbs up when you're done.
No, I
Well, no, it's
I know-
fine. 'cause
No,
our
it's
listeners
fine.
probably haven't.
It's
We
fine.
like to give it some time
Okay.
for spoilers.
Yeah.
I will say, I bet you're not mad about Andor though.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm saving it.
Ooh, episode 6 was good.
Cool. And I don't really give a fuck about spoilers. I just enjoy shows. I don't give a shit.
So Chewie shows up,
with
Cool.
Yoda.
yeah, with Yoda, and they just buddy cop the 2 guys that don't speak English,
Mhm.
and they're just like.
My favorite part is
Zap.
when my favorite part is when C-3PO shows up, but he's got like one of his gold plates missing, which is like, show that time has passed.
Is it the same one that
Except time hasn't passed; it's before
Thanos'
time.
daughter
It's the land
wore
before
and
time.
tricked him?
Yeah,
Is it that?
and then Doctor Who showed up, and it was terrible.
Now, Doctor Who, that goes too far. When are they just going to
Yeah.
leave IPs alone?
Yeah, I know.
And then the guy from Quantum Leap just leaps into the middle of it.
Quantum Leap leaped in.
Zigger! Did you know that Always Sunny had a Quantum Leap crossover?
Hmm
Are you serious?
Yes, it's
Oh,
a
it's
real
wonderful.
thing. It's amazing. Scott Bakula sings. It's a musical episode with Quantum Leap.
Oh my god.
And Scott Bakula sings a song, and it's amazing. He's a really good singer.
Wow. I
It's-
definitely
it's
used to watch
amazing.
that show.
hmm Frank has several very fun songs.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to spoil too much.
Is there any other hidden gems out there aside from Andor? Like, I haven't found anything good in a while.
Rings of Power was good. I disagree with pretty much everyone that doesn't like it. Like I can understand you having criticisms
Mhm.
if you're too close to the source material, but it's been very good. Like it's been right up there with what you would expect from Lord of the Rings content in general.
Cool.
Now, there's some minor like super technical things that are like theoretically issues. Like, yeah, according to the lore, because he was so meticulous in recording everything, it's like, well, this thing that happens in the show has only ever happened 3 times, and it's well documented which 3 times. It's like, yeah, but like this is a time of like chaos, and so it could
Mhm.
easily be just argued that like it wasn't recorded, like nobody remembered it. And then like they do this like who's who thing, like you don't know who some people are in the show until the final episode. And so like some people didn't like that, but I think it was good.
I
You
watched,
watched-
I think the first 2 episodes, and I really enjoyed it. I just haven't got back to that one.
It starts pretty slow.
You watch
I was,
Person
I was
of
gonna
Interest?
say it's Lord of the Rings. It better start slow, or I'm out.
Person of
It better be
interest
it better be a lot of people talking about like the meals they have and the times they have them.
with
like
songs.
that's
A lot of
Yeah.
The
songs.
color of the leaves and why they're slightly different than the colors
Uh-huh.
of these leaves.
I really, really need people to tell me about how dangerous something is, but nothing ever actually happens about these things that are dangerous ever.
Well, it feels like a little bit like Star Wars, right? Like the original Star Wars movies, they like talk about how powerful the Force is and everything,
Mhm.
but you never really see anything spectacular happen, right?
Mhm.
You just kind of take it on faith. It's like, well, the One Ring is really fucking powerful and it can control basically everything, except it doesn't do anything when you need it to. You're like, oh, that's not very useful. Like this sounds like a really dumb item. But it's just like that, like Gandalf. Like Gandalf casts what 1 spell in the entire Lord of the Rings saga? He casts light.
Mhm.
And you're like, cool, bro. You're a level 1 wizard. You did it. He's like, light.
Well, didn't he also? He had like a force duel with, I guess, like Mage Hand a whole bunch with.
No, that's just tripping. That's just very skilled tripping. See, Gandalf swung his staff at Saruman, and then he just like fell backwards.
It
'cause he
also-
was old.
It also could have just been. I think it was more of an old man competition. I think the old man is one of my favorite noises. You know what I'm talking
Sounds
about?
like a geriatric porno.
Yeah, I know. I think it sounds like they're exerting themselves incredibly, but in a way that is like the last exertion, right? And then like that's it, they're dead. Like
So
The
geriatric
last-
porno. You could have just
I
said
don't
yes.
know. I don't know. Geriatric porno. I think they'd all live through that, right? I don't think there's. I'm sure. Never mind. I'm sure there's geriatric snuff porno. Sorry. Sorry.
Geriatric
What am I
I
thinking?
can hear the future Google keys typing
No,
away.
no,
on
there's-
the
God,
listener.
There's no clicking here. Oh, sorry, listeners. Listeners, like, well, what do I have to lose? A lot. Yeah, actually.
It's gonna just bug you if you don't check.
You better, yeah, y'all better check.
Speaking
I
of,
mean, yeah, if you just take it on faith that it exists, like, then it's just a terrible world. You need to prove it doesn't.
speaking of checking up, how is the bailiwick of Guernsey doing on our listener? As we have any
Oh,
more?
you're gonna make me look it up right now.
Yeah, because I think it's important that we find out about the
Mm.
bailiwick. The bailiwick is still my number one choice for shirt motto, by the way.
Mm.
The guys, the
Yeah,
gang,
I
gang
mean, I
has
really
a
wanna-
bailiwick. Listen,
I really want to get shirts done. That's so busy. I see an end though. The end of the tunnel exists.
okay.
They're still less than 1%.
Okay.
Although Slovenia is below them now. It's still 50-50 St. Peter Port and Guernsey as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like we've gained 0 listeners.
Well, those might be the two MCP players. in
Like
Guernsey.
one guy lives in St. Peter Port, the other one doesn't.
I think we have 100% of the Guernsey players, but I'm just saying, I'm really excited that they're still around. Shout out to Guernsey forever.
Our newer episodes are climbing up the charts. People apparently are liking the new stuff. 103, 105, and 106 are all in the top 6
Look at that.
of all time listens.
We're killing it.
Yeah. I like our piercing the veil segments we do. Where we just straight up tell people the numbers.
Well, then they can feel like that's them. They're like, we are the one of 6.
That's us.
Yeah, I
fine.
mean, keep spam messaging everyone you know on Facebook to get them to listen to the podcast. And the fact that they blocked you doesn't mean that they can't still see these messages later. So just keep sending them.
I actually just turned shit into tiny URLs and just spam everyone at work. And because it's a tiny URL, what the fuck? They don't know what it is. It just sends them straight to the YouTube, and they go, "What is this?" And they go, "It's me. Listen." Everyone bites.
I imagine our YouTube hasn't done much lately because I haven't had time to edit videos.
Wait, edit.
Although I did got everything up for a while. Ooh, we have a new subscriber. Oh, Chad from Des Moines. I love that when people subscribe, I know them by name. It's like, what's this sub? Oh, that's Chad. My
Perfect.
channel.
I almost recorded my
Fun-
game to give to you, but I opted not to.
You still should have done that.
I know, but I didn't.
Yeah. We have 104 YouTube subscribers. Thanks, guys.
104,000? Nice.
I know.
Well done.
104. Please enjoy the 0 YouTube ads I play. Enjoy that.
Monetization.
I hate YouTube ads so much.
I don't know. I remember the days when you could just go video after video after video, and you could find yourself in the deepest, darkest hole. You can't do that
So
anymore.
I don't know what it is. So I use a weird web. I use Opera instead of like Chrome or whatever people use. I started using it in like high school, and I've always used it. And there's my ad blocker on Opera stops YouTube ads. So I refuse to fuck with it because I just don't have to watch ads, and I don't have YouTube Premium or anything. I just never watch ads. It's so awesome. So I'm like, I'm not going to uninstall the browser. I don't even update the browser. I'm like, just leave it alone. It's working. Like, and this is when Parker's like, update everything. I'm like, no. I have to watch YouTube ads if I update stuff. It's like the guy who has the flip phone and the $5 a month cell phone payment. He's like, fuck you, I'm not updating shit.
Yep.
So
So they send him weekly advertisements. Please upgrade to an iPhone. He's like, nope.
this just in, I found exactly that post you were talking about, Brandon. The one that shows
yeah?
very clearly that the symbol when you blow it up is precisely the new House of X symbol. And
Nice.
the other cover you were looking at is got a bunch of current X-Men bad guys. The leader of
Gotcha.
Orcus and Nimrod and Omega Sentinel.
Okay. So conveniently, they showed up on the Sentinel models.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a new age thing, sure. But I mean, I would tinkle my pants a little bit if I found out that Nimrod was coming to this game. I'd be so excited.
Well, I mean, the first kit that this symbol showed up on was the Sentinel kits.
Right.
Do you think there's anything behind that?
Maybe not. This is just like one random cover, issue 9 of X-Men currently.
Okay.
I don't think
We'll move on.
there's anything necessarily.
When you said
there's no way to know. I desperately hope that Omega Sentinel and Nimrod get pinned into the same box. I would be so happy, but
when you said I found it, I'm pretty certain that was geriatric porno. I was like, oh no.
I was
It's
like, oh my god.
He
did
found some
actually
geriatric
Google it?
snuff films.
Yeah.
why would I need to tell you about it? I've already told you everything you need to know. I use the 3 adjectives you need to know.
It's very exciting. What was it you weren't supposed to look up either? What was it? Big black pole or something like that? Did you?
Monster Tube. Monster
That's
Tube.
what it was. Monster Tube.
Yeah. That was the brand of playmat storage device that we carried. It's brand Monster Gaming Accessories. And they just call it the Monster Tube. And so I was entering into the system. It was the first time we got them in. And I had been working on inventory stuff for 6 hours at this point, and my brain was just off. It was just numbers and letters to me at this point. And so I was like, okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, well, the invoice doesn't have an MSRP on it. They just gave me my cost. And so I open a Chrome tab and go, Monster Tube MSRP, hit enter. And before the page loads, I close my eyes and go, what have I just done? And then I was like, well, let me refine the search. And so I don't even look at like the options because I know how bad it's going to be, right? And I go, okay, I need to refine this.
Did you refine
so
by
I
color?
So I looked down. I was like, all right, well, this is the black one. So it says Monster 2 open parenthesis black close parenthesis. So I typed that in and hit enter again. And I was just like, what did I do? Like why did I do this? And then then I just closed the tab and put in $10 because I didn't give a fuck anymore. I still don't know how much they cost.
Oh my god.
Oh, Parker, you weren't here for this, but I figured I'd tell you. So the My Hero game I play, the card game,
Yeah.
they added a new rarity to the game, this set, that's never existed before in the game. It's called a Chrome Promo. And so the Chrome Promo is a previously printed character card printed with a special foiling and color adjustment to it. So it's basically like a splash art on a comic book, right? And it's all cool foiled out.
Okay.
They only printed 500 of each one. So there's 8 of them total. Each one's only been printed 500 copies. And they put them in the packs. But because Jasco is a good guy company, and they're like, well, we don't want you to miss out on the rares you would have gotten, so we're going to make this card replace one of the commons that comes in your pack
Huh.
instead of the rare slot. Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Guess what most people do with their commons when they open booster packs?
They just toss them.
They just toss them.
Oh,
So, so think of how many people are going to throw away. These cards are going for like $200 to $400 each, and they're just going to throw them in the trash because they don't even check. Like, why would you look at the commons when you've already opened like 5 boxes?
Oh, man, that is true.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I cannot wait for them to go. Why are these so scarce? Like,
It is. You know what's weird? I always, every time I've ever played TCG, I always like look at every card, even if I have like 8 of them. I always do. I don't know why.
Yeah, I generally do too, but I mean, it's theoretically possible I could have missed one.
Yeah.
I don't throw anything out though because I'm psychotic. I alphabetize all my fucking cards. Ooh, so story time, I guess. So we were moving right over the weekend, and so we have the moving truck at my place, and we've basically loaded most of the stuff into the truck at this point. We've loaded everything in the truck, and we've unloaded it at the new place, and we're back down at my old house, and we're hanging out, and Max is there, my roommate, and his buddy Mitch has come down from out of town to hang out with us and help us move, which is super cool. And he brings his remote control RC cars with him as just like something we could do after we finish moving. So we live in a cul-de-sac street, and he gets them out, and Jeremy, I don't know if you're familiar with these, but it's like the big shocky ones that can like
Yep.
do rolls and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, super high powered ones. And so these things get up to like 70 miles an hour. They're super cool. They have like roll cages and stuff. They have like self-righting if they get turned over.
That's tight.
And so he puts one in the street, freshly charged battery, and he's like, all right, this is the new one I just got. It has a shorter range because the antenna's damaged. And then he hits the gas, and this thing fucking darts down the street, goes down about 4 houses, and then just keeps going in a straight line. He goes, oh, it's out of range. And he just ramps it into somebody's yard. They're like cartwheels towards their house. And I was like, oh my God. And so for the rest of the night, we just go, oh, it's out of range anytime he tries to drive it anywhere. Because he only went like 100 feet. Like, it was so short.
Oh, man.
It was hilarious. But yeah, it was actually pretty fun. That was actually a good time.
At least it was on the ground. My racing
Yeah.
drones would just fall from the fucking sky. You're like, oh,
I
this is
thought
fun. I
You
can't.
didn't have the ones that had the software to come back to you?
Oh, no. Racing drones don't do that. Those
Okay.
are camera drones, which like a Phantom is a camera drone. The racing drone, you'd be flying around, going really fast around trees, and then all of a sudden your camera would go out, and you're like, "Oh fuck!" and it just
Oops.
crashes somewhere, and you got to go find it.
At least you kind of knew where it was.
Kinda. Perspective's a lot different from the ground,
Big general area. Yeah. She was like, "Fuck it, buy a new drone."
dude.
Same time.
I've lost them deep before, but you always
Oof.
find it.
You could put like an air tag on it, I guess, and you could track it down.
There's several ways to do it, but yeah, man, like those things, as fast and as crazy as they are, when you lose reception for whatever reason, chaos ensues.
All right, so on topics, I figured we would talk about a couple small topics because we've got Aaron had brought up the point of he built a new list, so I want to talk about that a little bit with him. People watching streamed games and basically getting involved with stream games when you're not one of the participants. I want to talk about that a little bit, and then I figured we'd just go back to finishing out the leaders if we can.
I played a bunch of games to talk about Sentinels if you wanted to. I tried to play
Bunch
some games.
of games. I can
2.
also talk about those games.
I played 2.
Can we really call either of those a game?
Oh, the second one was definitely a game. The first
one
was
wasn't.
not.
We should talk about Jeremy and Maya's tournament.
That's right.
You guys went to a tournament? Which tournament did you go to?
The October MCP tournament at Meta.
At Meta. Okay. MGU.
Yes.
Cool. All right, well, let's get at it. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
No,
The
I
fucking
just had
topics.
one question. I just had one question.
Yeah.
The stuff that we've been posting in the podcast channel that we've been coming up with as topics, have you read them? I'm just curious. I don't need to talk about
No.
them. I'm just curious.
No.
Just so you know.
I've only been vaguely skimming Discord recently because I've been busy.
Okay. Just letting you know we are trying to
If
constantly
there are
post
topics
stuff.
that in there that you want, add them to the topic list.
Okay.
Just copy and paste them into the podcast topics on the document. And listeners at home, if you have topics that you think we should talk about, submit them to us either via email at infamousmcpod@gmail.com or on our Facebook page, Infamous MCP. Send us a message. Either of those. God, it's been so long since I said the email address. I was like, what is the email?
/# 77184 lowercase l /
//
Star.
Where do I actually put it on this sheet?
I'm putting it right underneath.
There's a
podcast
section
topics.
called podcast topics.
I just put mine right underneath that.
Yeah, just put it at the top of the list.
Well,
Okay.
all I have is the Excel Infamous.
I can do it. Which one do you want? I
Is
can
that
do it
where
for
you're
you.
on? What?
Yeah.
I want to see.
Oh,
it.
not the Excel one. The Word doc one. Podcast topics is the name of the Word doc.
Oh, I don't have that.
Brandon,
Oh my god.
Aaron, just tell me which one you wanted. I'll put it on there.
Just all
Yeah.
the stuff we were talking about. Longshanks data dump.
Aaron,
Aaron,
data dump.
I am messaging it to you directly.
Oh no, don't do that. God no.
It's been
Oh
done.
shit. Can I pin another one? I'm gonna have to pin that one too.
Yeah, sure.
Pin
Here, I'll
message.
pin it for you. I'll pin it for you.
Oh, I already pinned it. You can't pin it twice.
Double pinned.
Now I have 2 messages from you pinned.
Nice.
If you ever get rid of that first one, I'll have no idea where to put this
I was really
upload
worried because I
files.
haven't checked this email address in like at least 6 months, probably a year. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have a bunch of messages from people that are like, why aren't you responding? Yeah, it's just YouTube. Apparently YouTube has sent me 600 fucking messages.
Dear Infamous, we are hoping that you will get this soon. This is part of a Make-A-Wish wish.
Yeah.
You're like,
I mean,
oh,
that
no.
I would just have ignored anyway.
You would have to ignore it at this point.
God, there's so many emails from YouTube. Why do I care? Check all. There we go. Trash. Oh my god, it was multiple pages worth.
Whoa.
I just said select all from YouTube. It's multiple pages just from YouTube. All right, now select all from Google. This is great podcast content.
I know, we're killing it.
Select all from Google. Goodbye. This is like 400 emails.
Whoa.
Fuck. Whatever. I do not care at all anymore. Richard Moore
What the fuck is he talking about?
requesting access. Oh, I see. Yeah, that was back when we played Marvel Strike Force.
Oh.
He sent an email to the podcast.
Nice.
Email asking for my fucking spreadsheet for my characters on Strike Force because I had built a spreadsheet that helped you track all the gear you needed. He was like, "That's cool. Send that to me." I think I eventually got it to him. All right, cool. This is done. All right, that was a fun exercise. I had like 300 emails on an account that's never sent an email. All right, let's get started.
I feel like we're going to get flagged again somehow.
You mentioned geriatric porn like 9 times. We're getting a
Yeah.
flag.
No, I said geriatric snuff porn, and I think that's why we're getting a flag.
We're gonna get. There'll be a double, triple flag.
You're definitely gonna have an FBI agent at your house on Monday.
I don't
Will
think
they
an
be
FBI
old?
agent for that. I don't think that's what I get.
Will they be here to change the cable?
What all did we talk about? Oh yeah.
Oh no, we need to wrap this up. It's getting late for me.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing this. Pyro card and challenger update question mark. That's good. Cool. All right. Well, that's all I have for us. Like we've already got over our timeline. So
Cool.
yeah.
Deal. Can I
Booyah.
clap?
Wait, hold on. Hello? Uh-oh. Well, we're good. It's all fine. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was terrible. I'm sorry. I started clapping. It fucked up my rhythm. And I was like, this is going to be off.
Oh my god.
5. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4,